Adam Bigelsen, great to talk to you again, brother. How are you, man?
Awesome. Thrilled to see you again. Definitely. I miss you.
I was gonna say I miss you already. It's only been 2 weeks.
Has it been 2 weeks? Wow. Holy cow.
Or maybe, yeah, I don't know, a week and a half or 2 weeks. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I'm glad we're gonna have this chat. Like we had a great time in Acapulco and I've been following your work for a while and it just really is what people are looking for as close to a miracle these days. Uh, and we don't learn the stuff that you guys have been seeing in our institutions of yearning, I call them.
Nice. Nice. True too. Too true.
So I really wanted to introduce you to my people. What's cool is, our Space Busters followers, like we're very lucky. We have a really intelligent, really clued in, intelligent crowd, which is great. I don't think I could do this if we didn't.
Nice. It's a
Still,
cool thing.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Go, no, you go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to say it's funny because when we ended up going to Anarchapulco, there's names that I had heard of, some people I knew definitely, and people I had no idea who they were. And your name I've heard definitely, know nothing about you, So Anna and I were definitely like in bed the night before, going, "Oh my God, who are these people? We're gonna meet them. What are they talking about? What's the deal?" So yeah, it's nice to see you. It's nice to meet you. It was funny because Anarchapulco was it was great to be out, with people and the right people. It's all these last 3 years we've been so isolated and things like that, but it was awesome. And meeting you, I don't even remember how we met, but it was funny, or when we met. But all I can think is it was just like good to see you again, old friend.
Yeah, it did feel like that. I've also said that, I've always been one of these people when people say, oh, you need to find your tribe. I've just laughed at those people because I've always been sort of a loner type, not a loner, but, a go it alone type of guy.
Right.
And I had to eat some crow. Someone said, crow, it's not just for breakfast anymore.
I think Max has it on the menu at his bar, right? You can get some crow.
Yeah. I
Awesome.
did feel the same. I felt like I just met a bunch of old souls or something, if there's any truth to that. What's really
Totally.
funny, this is, yeah, well, yeah, so we had a nightmare trip down. I won't talk about it from Mexico City, but the car had, yeah, we had crazy. And then you guys were moving hotel. If you remember, that's when we met that first night. You guys needed a lift. And
Oh
I
yeah,
had just been drinking just because our ride was so bad. So Jack gave you guys a ride. But
that's right.
what's funny is so I got back and I told Mark Bailey, I said, "Oh, I'm talking to Adam Bigelsen, like we're doing a thing." And he said, "Good. Um, you can tell him to have Anna stop. You can have him dispel all this fear that Anna's pushing." And I thought, like, because I
Oh yeah.
mentioned you, I thought he's talking about your girlfriend, Anna Maria Oliva. So I'm like, this
Right.
woman's not pushing fear. I just met her for a week. But apparently, there's a woman out there called Anna Maria Mihalcia. Have you ever heard of her, an MD?
Oh yes. Oh
All
yes.
right. So I mean, this is a good lead into what we're going to talk about. She's out there pushing all the fear about what people were seeing in the blood after the donut bait plungers. We're going to call this to make this YouTube friendly. But I
Oh yeah.
thought he was talking about your Anna because I said you, and I thought I woke up in like a parallel reality. I'm like, there's
That's so
no way.
funny.
Yeah,
It doesn't. There's your cognitive dissonance.
yeah, I was like, I don't think. I'm like, are you talking about his girlfriend? He's like, I don't think he'd be dating this girl.
No, no. That's
But
hilarious. Well, I appreciate that. That's cool that he said that.
but that was cool. Like you and I, yeah. So we became good friends, and we were laughing, and we got to jam a little bit at Max's bar, and yeah, you're like an old friend, and it's great,
Oh,
really good.
definitely.
But yeah, like what I like to do every time I've seen a lecture with you, you guys for 40 minutes you talk about the history and your dad and your brother, and then
Yeah.
you don't see the miracles until 40 minutes in. So I'm a Virgo. I like to cut the crap and get to it. But let's use Anna Maria Mihalcia because she's a good intro, right? So maybe if you want to share your screen, let's
Sure.
put up a slide and we'll talk about what when the boogeyman was going around and people first started taking what we're calling the donut bait
Right.
plungers. If you get a free donut if you take this plunger blood.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, well,
Go
let me
ahead.
tell you too, as this is an interesting one because as Josh and I do what we do, we've really stayed out of what's going on, and it's funny because we're on the kind of edge of what's been happening. There's a lot of people that we know that are full on involved in the ridiculousness. And we
Yeah.
all have our roles, which is fine. So Josh and I, our job is not a fear-based experience. We're presenting information, and what we've seen with the blood and the body has been awesome. The body is amazing what this thing can do. So over the last 3 years, it's interesting. Steve, I like people. I do. I really like people. Okay. There's another half to that sentence, but I'm not going to get into that one. I I believe that most people are doing their best. So as you have doctors, I believe they went into the field of medicine to help people, right? I did have some friends that just wanted to drive a Porsche and golf on Wednesdays. That was one thing. But as people share things, one thing we've done, my dad did, as we've done this experience for a long time, dad did not believe what he was seeing in the blood for at least a year. And he watched it and watched it and watched it. And then even as I see people these days, I'm not here to attack messengers. There's messages, right? And I really feel that these people are doing their best. There's a great line from Bender the Robot from Futurama that sometimes your best is an idiot. So there's that, right? And for people listening, this is super important. There are people right now, I don't mention names, I won't mention names, but they're saying, get a microscope. Okay. One of these famous people that people are listening to has said, I have had a microscope for 2 years. Okay. And I encourage everyone to get a microscope and send me images. And my response is this, get a microscope, sure. But don't you dare tell anyone what you're thinking and what you're seeing until you've observed patterns for a long period of time. All right. So
Right.
when people are sharing these ridiculous images, and I'll share some pictures
Yeah,
here.
let's throw one up. And by the way, you're not using a regular microscope like you get from Kmart or Walmart, right? You're using is it a dark field? What is this? You have an old,
Yes,
what is this? So tell us the difference between a Walmart microscope and what your microscope is, please.
sure. The dark field microscope, and it's interesting because in the United States, the term dark field is owned by the Center for Disease Control. Why do they own a word, right? A term. So what happens with our microscope is in your typical microscope, you put the slide with the sample and the light source goes straight through the sample. So you've got your optics, you've got your light, and then your sample. With our microscope, with the dark field, it actually kind of splits the beam. So there's like a black circle in the center and the light only comes from the side, and it does something. This is the way holograms are made. Holograms are made by refracting light and taking a picture of an interference field. Dad has a great paragraph on this. I wish I had it here. But the reality is that when we look at the blood, the light is not going straight through the sample. It's bouncing in a way where the whole field is dark. So, and I'll pull up a picture
Right.
here
So
for you.
that's why it's called that. Yeah. Now you can't just go out and buy one of these, can you anymore? Or you have to, is
You
it
can,
menu?
you
Yeah.
can, but the technology's changed. So these days, and it's due to live blood analysis. Live blood analysis is a brand. Okay, it's nutritional microscopy. What we do is we do analyze the blood live, but we don't do live blood analysis, which confuses people. Okay, what do you mean you don't do live blood analysis? But the microscopes, yes, you can buy a dark field microscope. You can get them for $800 up to a few $1,000s these days. But the technology's changed. So these days, LED lights have changed the coloring, and the digital camera's not a good representation of what we're wanting to see. So if people want to get microscopes, right now, I have people around the world that want to learn with us. They're waiting to buy microscopes. And the reality is right now, there is not a microscope that I would recommend anyone buy. So we're actually looking to develop some older technology. I have a friend actually, she reached out to a company who doesn't produce a microscope, and they told her if she bought 20 of them, that they would start to reproduce them for her. Well, I don't have $50,000 or $60,000, but she might. So fingers crossed. But so yes, if you want to get a microscope and you really want to do something like this, don't buy a microscope now. Be patient. And also, I'll tell you this: we will be doing some training, but we're not going to show anyone what we're seeing in the blood unless they're with us for 6 months. You need to learn the philosophy behind this. There's a big responsibility. If I look at something in the blood and go, oh my God, this is crazy, you're going to get scared. And I've seen people doing unnecessary treatments and getting injured because of what people are misinterpreting. Let me
Right.
show you some pictures, right?
Yeah,
All right.
please. This is to me, this is like the juice, this still blows me away.
Well, and let me stop the share. Let me do it this way real quick so I can
That
at
was
least if
great.
I can.
Yeah.
Well, and it's I like, I feel for people these days. There's a lot of fear and people don't know what to think. And that's the ticket. Right now, there are people sharing a lot of fear, and I don't appreciate that. I'm not going to share anything until I know what the hell I'm talking about. All
Now,
right.
when I first saw these pictures come out,
Mhm.
there was talk that it's Hydra vulgaris or it's self-assembling nano robots or
Right, right,
it's
right, right.
yeah, right. That's I mean, and like you said, you guys, how long have you been seeing this? 30, 40 years? How long is
We've been doing the microscope. Dad did it for almost 30 years. Dad was the
yeah.
third doctor in US history to do it. Okay. So Royal Rife, Virginia Livingston Wheeler, and then my dad. All right.
Yeah,
We've seen these images for decades. This is nothing new. All right. Now,
right.
as we look at this, they could be different things depending on what's going on in the body. A lot of times we're seeing spinal cord or potentially colon. We even did this. Let's see, there's an image. I have thousands of these images. So this is nothing new. All right. There was that video that said, shocking new images out of Australia and New Zealand, never seen before. And I did a video saying, yeah, I've seen these for decades. But people aren't interested in this. People are more interested in the fear and the ridiculousness. Okay.
Because
So
we
as I
haven't
see,
seen that. Yeah, but like people like
yeah,
me, we never saw this. So tell what is
yeah.
this really? This is what's amazing. What are we looking at?
Okay, so what we're looking at, this is where things get really easy. This is where you can discount a lot of what people are saying. We take blood from a capillary. We stick your finger, capillaries. They're the smallest blood vessels you have. And they're so small, they're only big enough for one red cell to fit through at a time. All right. So these images, they're much bigger than red cells. All right. The reality is, if this was in your bloodstream, it would clog a vessel. You could have a stroke. So this is not physical. This is where things get weird and a little wooey wooey, but dad was a real right brain scientist. He was all about numbers, right? So as we stick the finger, the blood comes out. There's no way this image could be there. What we believe, what we're seeing is in the body, everything vibrates at its own frequency. All matter, different frequencies, right? So different tissues, different frequencies. Beautiful symphony. Something's out of balance, it changes the frequency, creates an interference field, a disturbance field, dissonance in music, right? If the two notes don't match so
Yeah.
well. And we can see that with our microscope. It's kind of like bats and dolphins with echolocation and sound or vibrations bouncing off something. And we see these things perfectly. Now, the interesting thing with all this is if people know who Dr. Pablo Compra is, he wrote the original G thing paper, whatever you want to call that. This is him, okay? Josh and I met him in Spain. He bought a microscope after meeting us, all right? And what we wanted him to do, this is him doing a presentation talking about us today. What we asked him to do was to isolate a hologram for us, because I don't know what it's made of. Can he isolate one and can we see what, is there chemical composition to it? I have videos and images of white cells attaching to these holograms. So
Like
how is
they're
it that a white,
reals, as if they're physical things then almost. Or
right?
actually, yeah.
Yeah. So we know a lot, but we don't know everything. And we're very honest about what we know and what we don't know. So I don't know. What I know, what I think, what we think is these things are energy becoming physically manifested as the blood leaves the body based on imbalance in the body or what the body is concerned about. So the things that are going to show up are what the body wants dealt with. And the idea of us looking at the blood of someone that has a heart issue and we don't see the heart, we see the structure is out of alignment and it's putting pressure on the heart. So the heart is the result. Okay. So yeah, here's white cells. This is a white cell right there. If you can see my cursor. It's going to be working on that hologram. So what that tells us is your body is working on the experience. It's trying to heal things, okay? This one too, if we leave the camera on for a bit, these little white cells, they'll start to move towards these things. But see how much bigger this is than the red cells?
Yeah.
This could not be, all right? So people saying these other substances, what they're claiming, it's not possible. Besides the fact that the gels, my Anna worked in a nanobiotechnology laboratory. Not one single person throughout the whole pandemic that is sharing anything has ever worked in a nanobiotechnology laboratory. So my Anna knows what they're doing, how they're doing it, and it is not what you think. Okay. And our position is still no one should be part of an experiment, even a clinical trial. Okay. I had a friend that got prostate cancer. My dad did great things with prostate cancer. And my friend said, well, what should I do? We said, we'll tell you what to do. We looked at his blood. We told him. He said, I think I'm going to do a clinical trial. Now you're a guinea pig. He's dead. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
He's young. He was 50. I can't ask my friends, did he get the donut experience? Because they're all going to attack me for that crap. Right.
Yeah, you can't say that.
No. So as you look at these images, though, yeah, these images, this was never before seen out of Australia and New Zealand. I've seen them for decades. This could be part of the liver, something like that. Same thing. I've seen these images forever. So all these things that these people are saying, oh, never before seen, that's crap. But they're not interested. Not interested at all in what I have to offer. This is fun. The right side, that's an air pocket with some dirt. So
Right.
when I tell people, I mean, look at this in the middle. That's an air pocket. This is dirt. All right. This is from a dirty slide. And I spend so much time taking the right image. I will take a drop of your blood and take 9 drops of it. I won't touch it. I let the blood jump onto the cover slip because I don't want to squash it. And these images, yeah, this could be mucous membrane. It could be colon, depending on what else we see in the blood. But this is an air pocket from a dirty slide. Now, when you see images of people telling you other things, right? This is like so dumb. How could you believe me that the whole world, people that have thousands, tens of thousands of followers, right? And they've published things on Substack. I've never published on Substack. I don't have time. I'm busy doing blood and doing webinars and doing emails and things like this. And these people have teams of people. I know people that cannot unsubscribe from that Anna's email list. Like she keeps sending them emails and the seniors are freaking out, So the reality is, yeah, we've seen this, we've seen all this, and Josh and I, this video, like we've lectured around the world about this stuff. This is us in Spain and Pablo Campos right here listening. There's
And
over 500 people here.
he's the guy from La Quinta Columna, right? Isn't that him?
He's the guy
Oh,
that wrote the paper that Quinta Columna took and ran with.
right. Yeah. Saying that this was all robots and other things in there.
Right, you got it. Now, I want to show you some other images. Let me stop the share for just a moment. If I can. Can I stop
And
the
again,
share?
you're saying these come out of little capillaries, so they're too big to be a physical thing, right?
Right. Yes, yes.
They could be
So,
magnetic. I mean, Walter Russell talks about the still white light of God. They could be actually magnetic in, manifesting into reality, and that's why the white blood cells come to them.
well, and you'll laugh. I mean, this is why we actually met Matt Presti.
Yeah.
Walter Russell was a name I never knew. And then someone said, Walter Russell, Walter Russell. Josh starts to read. It's over his head. He doesn't know what the hell is going on. So we talked to Matt Presti and we say, give us a crash course. And he was like, okay, you got a bunch of hours. But but the deal was with some of what Walter Russell talks about can explain why we're seeing these holograms. All right. So I met Matt there at Anarchapulco. Same thing. Awesome. Meeting him was like, dude, well, I haven't seen you in a long time. That guy is awesome. We're going to do a webinar with him. We need to learn more. So the same thing, though, is these things are showing up for a reason. Other things are attaching to it. We know a lot, but we don't know the whole experience. All right. Now, the cool holograms for us, it's sad. It's frustrating right now with what's going on. Okay. With these people who think they know what they're talking about, sharing fear. And I'm pissed. It's like, I can do this. And I do this as a joke. I pull up blood and I go, oh, look, there's the poison. People go, really? And I go, no. It's like, oh, look, there's the poison. Really? No. So the thing is, I can tell you anything when I look at these pictures, right? But for some reason, right now, people believe the less experienced people.
Right.
Okay.
And you guys
And
have like 70,000 of these, or what? So you have like tons of these things.
we had 40,000 or 50,000 in our
Yeah.
old database, which we haven't had access to in a bunch of years. And since then, we've gotten we probably have almost 100,000 images.
That's crazy. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's the patterns. This is it. Dad looked for patterns. So we've seen patterns. And even when we were in Spain at that big lecture, there was a guy there that's a hero of my Anna. And on stage, we were at a round table, and he said, "We need to be scientists like the Bigelsens." And I had the little translator earpiece, and I said, "Did he just call us scientists?" She said, "Yeah." And all he said was, they have a method that they've observed patterns over a long period of time, and things are replicable. And what we do is it borders on crazy, wow, hard to believe. But then you have people like Andrew Kaufman. Okay, I appreciate him because his job is to poke holes in your stuff, right? And I met him originally way back at the beginning of the whole ridiculousness, and I watched him rise, to the top of the experience. And when I was with him in Anarchapulco, I said, "Hey, it's great to meet you and all this stuff. And, we haven't connected in a long time. So I'm kind of curious. Does he think we're weird? Does he think it's crap?" But he said, "No." He said, "I refer to you when I'm teaching doctors. I tell them about your dad's work." So great. I need to know if I have holes in my ship because it's going to sink. And you know how this works. If anyone out there is going to look at our stuff, they're going to find that one hole and discredit everything else. Right?
Yeah.
So I know a lot, but I don't know a lot. What I know is Andrew Kaufman says, "You're solid." So I feel good. And we've done this for 30 years with the microscope, but I still, for you guys listening, I still look at the blood every time and I'm amazed at what I see, at what shows up. The answers are there. It's crazy. It's really just your body trying to tell you. All right. So let's look
Well,
at some other
that's like,
pictures.
like our subs, they would know about Vita Austin and
Mhm.
Dr. Emoto, when you start to understand, when you look at like Vita Austin stuff, and we'll get into that. To me, this is crazy. There are also people who think we live in some kind of simulation, which this kind of almost could go into. But the stuff for me that's cool, what you guys are seeing, which we'll get into those slides, is not only are you seeing this 100,000 times, but you're able to actually use it to heal and for medicine. So
Yeah.
it's one thing to see something, whether you understand how it works or not, you do have actual results saying, could you show us some of that? Like the
Yeah.
heart, this is where it gets
Yes.
crazy for
Well,
me.
and I'll tell you too, it's interesting because like Veda Austin for us is interesting. Dr. Emoto's work, this is the introduction into what we do. Because if someone says, "What do you do?" And I go, "Oh, holograms in the blood," they go, "Cool. How about them chargers?" Like it just goes right over their head. They're not interested. So Dr. Emoto, one thing we learned about him, what he did with the water, he tried to do with the blood first, and he couldn't do it. He wanted to show us how emotions affect us. So when he found out about Dad's work, he was thrilled, and that was it. When he met my father, he shook his hand and said, "Good to see you again, old friend." I get chills with this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then even Veda Austin, her work is interesting because it's showing something with the water and what's going on with transference and consciousness potentially. Gerald Pollack, we know him. We've looked at his blood and had webinars with him as well. And Veda Austin just reached out to us because she's heard about us. But we're all doing our things. So it was nice. We know of her. She's heard of us. So she just reached out. And Josh and I did a Zoom with her. And it's cool because she's got a new book coming out. And at the end of the book, there's going to be blood pictures in there. And she's going to talk about our dad.
Oh,
So
nice. Yeah.
I get chills.
Why couldn't
Yeah.
why couldn't Emoto do it with the blood and why can you? What's the difference? What was he doing
I
different?
don't know. I don't know. I think he was probably trying to use, the regular bright field microscope in that
Right.
experience. And we will not see these images with the bright field. And
Right.
it's interesting because in the States for a long time they would go after people with dark field scopes, but now they're not because most people are doing live blood analysis, nutritional microscopy, which is going to look at all the different shapes of your cells and give you supplements for everything. It's
Yeah.
still it's still allopathic. They're treating a symptom with a natural substance, and what we know is the supplement companies are owned by the pharmaceutical companies. So when we came into the picture, we don't sell any supplements. We educate, and Dad was curing cancer. That's a problem. That's a money.
We're on YouTube, so be careful.
Uh, okay, yeah, okay. Well,
Yeah.
Dad's passed away, so they can go attack him.
Yeah. You know, the
Yes,
cancer with a K, as
yes,
Patrick
right,
Henningsen says. But yeah,
yes.
exactly. We'll get into that too. But yeah, if you can you show us like the ones that really trip me out are holograms of what, which is this is what's crazy is you can clearly see.
Yeah,
It's like it's crazy. This is crazy. It's just crazy, and it's so cool.
it is. It's crazy and it's cool. All right, so let me show you this. All right, here you got this one. This is interesting. I like to ask people what they think with some of these things, but this one, this one is an angry lung. This was somebody that was smoking and coughing. Okay, so the person came to Dad's clinic, and right before they came in, they were coughing. Dad looked at the blood and was like, "Wow, angry lung." The funny thing with this one is it was my lung.
It was
And it
yours.
was, yes, it was mine, and at that point in my life, I've never smoked cigarettes. Yay. And these are the things that as a kid, oh, so dad looks at my blood and goes, huh, so you're smoking, huh? Yeah. But busted. But angry lung, okay. This one, let me see here. Dun, dun, dun. This one, we did this one on the chat for the WOVA thing when we were doing Anarchapulco. I don't know. Did you see that at all, Steve?
Yeah, yeah. I was back right behind you. I was emceeing, so I was behind you there.
Okay, so but this one, I don't think I showed this one in the
Oh,
presentation.
okay.
So,
No, I
but
didn't see
we,
your chat. No.
okay, we were asking people what do they think it is. So as you look at this, what comes to mind off the top of your head? Like, if what would you think this would be?
I'm not totally sure. It was like a kidney or something. I don't know what it,
This
I
is
don't,
awesome. This is awesome because as you're scratching your head, and I say,
yeah,
what comes to mind? Tap your
in my
head.
head or was.
Uh, well, it's funny because a lot of people think it's a butt. It's not a butt. Okay, there's
It's
that.
a it's male genitalia in a very cold swimming pool.
I'll show you that one. No, this one, when Josh looked at it, he said it looks like a brain, but there's
Right?
part of it missing. Some of it was missing. And the story was this was from a child whose mother was gas bombed in the Middle East while she was pregnant.
No way.
And the child was born with part of his brain atrophied. So
Wow.
the kid had part of his brain was dead. So, and this is a cool story. Josh looked at this and said, "Whoa," and they said, "Yep, this was the story." So it makes sense. And then the kid he's a teenager. He's got brain issues. Josh said he was kind of like a mad cow thing. He didn't walk well. He didn't speak. And we were working with stem cells at that point. So we used some drinkable pork stem cells. And Josh worked with the kid. They did the stem cells. This was when dad was there, and we're not doctors, so I'm not a doctor. And the kid took the stem cells and he kind of got all red and he left the room. So Josh was like, okay, weird. And then he's talking to the parents about the child's condition, and the kid comes back into the room, walks right up to Josh. Josh thinks he's going to punch him because the kid's kind of aggressive. Kid puts his arm around Josh, just sits there. So Josh says to the parents, how are the kids' bowel movements? And the kid says, they're fine. The kid doesn't talk.
He started talking right after the stem cells.
Yeah, yeah. And these were drinkable stem cells. This wasn't your $10,000, $20,000 ridiculousness. And we know a lot about stem cells, and we can talk about that too. It's not the magic bullet like people think it is. It's not going to fix everything. But we saw the brain, made sense, talked to the parents. They said, yep, work with some stem cells. Kids started talking. So these are the things that we've seen. The stories I have stories and stories and stories. And it's funny because you mentioned stories I was mentioning at the bar that night. And all I could think is, oh crap, what did I say? I had a little bit to drink.
I'll remind you, and you can say if you can say it or not. But yeah,
All right, cool.
yeah.
So this one, well, this image, if you look at this, same thing, we'd ask people what comes to mind, People say, well, it looks like maybe spine and brain or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was a friend of ours, and she was ice skating, and she fell on the ice, and she hit her head. Okay, so she did go to the hospital, and then she came to us, and we looked at the blood, and we said, we think you're hemorrhaging. Like, this is her head, her skull. You can see some crunchy
It's like
things
a
where she
side
can't
view,
go.
like a profile of her head with her spine coming up. Yeah.
Yeah, you got it. And we said, we think you're hemorrhaging. And we sent her back to the hospital, and they said, oh, yeah, you are hemorrhaging. So this is another one of those things. She went to the hospital. The diagnostics some of these days are great. They're devices, millions of dollars worth of machinery and devices to test. And we saw it in the blood and they missed it. She's hemorrhaging. She could have had a real problem. So do we
Crazy.
trust
That's
our
crazy.
hospitals?
Does she
Yeah,
look? Does she look even a little bit like that, or
no.
she don't have a beard or a big nose, like
She's much better looking than that.
that looks
But
like
this one,
same.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, tell me, what does it look like?
Well, to me, it also looks like a side view of a brain and
Yeah,
the spine coming down or the medulla oblongata. Yeah.
exactly. This person had a head injury, so we can see some structural things here. This is exactly what you think it is. And we see these pictures. Sometimes it's like, whoa, there it is. It just shows up and it makes sense. This one's interesting. This is your brain on drugs. This is your
Thank you.
brain on pharmaceuticals. So other things different. But yeah, this was a woman practitioner we worked with. We looked at the blood. She was on all these she thought she was schizophrenic. Basically, there was a disorder there. And the reality was she was on multiple pharmaceuticals and it was affecting her brain. And as we looked at her, I forgot what we did. I think we did some structural work. We did some things with her. We had her do some things or get some treatments. And these days, she's not on any pharmaceuticals and she's awesome. She's smart. She's one of the people we refer people to sometimes.
And so if
But
you
this
took
is
her blood now, it wouldn't look like this anymore, right? That
no,
would be
no,
gone
no, no.
probably. Or does
Yeah.
that happen a lot? Like right after you treat them with whatever, then you take their blood again and this is gone or different or
Yes, and that's what we would do. When Dad had the clinics, we would look at the blood, we would see blocks in the body, physical issues, energetic issues, emotional issues, and then we would address them as we would have the practitioners or the doctors there in the office. And then Dad would look at the blood again, and the blood will change immediately. It'll change real time. So if we looked at your body and there was structure issues and your body needs to be aligned, we can align the body. We look at the blood again. If we still see those images, then it didn't work. If we
right.
see those images and they're starting to break apart, starting to dissipate, then we know we got to the root of the cause. And we've seen things. We had a guy hurt himself. We look at the blood. There's some issues. He had a big head injury also. And there's a famous chiropractor there who works on him and he feels better, but the blood didn't look different. The blood actually said he needed more body work because this chiropractor's jumping on him and cracking him, and
Yeah.
rolling him into a ball out the door. But then we had someone do 10 minutes of cranial sacral work, just really subtle, relaxing the body and the tissues, and the blood changed. And we know from real science that a small change in a biological system affects the greater whole. So if we can do if we can change your blood, we can change you, is what Dad would say. So yes, we see
Right.
this. We don't see this in her blood anymore. Not at all.
Great. Yeah. Because some of these are like, you'll probably get to some are very obvious what they are, and some you have to see
Yeah.
these a lot probably to see what they are.
Yeah, some of them are like amorphous blobs, but the reality is, and what we do is we look at the blood, look at the person, look at the blood, look at the person. My dad would say, if you want to learn, you get a microscope, you have a good day, you look at your blood. A bad day, you look at your blood. You hit your head, you look at your blood. You stub your toe, you look at your blood. You have a bunch of sex, you look at your blood. You want to see the patterns and you really need to observe. So once again, for people listening, anyone with a microscope, this is Amanda Vollmer sent something to Josh recently on Instagram, and someone says, I just got my microscope and I'm seeing all this poison, all these people, this sucks. And Amanda said, you want to respond? And Josh said, nope. I'm not going to argue with idiots on this, and I'm going to reach out to her and say, can you respond? And say, do you know of the Bigelsens? They've seen this for decades. So the patterns are important. If you look at this, Dad looked at this and said, looks like a tapeworm.
Yeah.
And this is a tapeworm. Okay. We've seen this a lot. We've seen tapeworms in the blood. And the thing is with a tapeworm, if you're healthy, you eat a parasite like this, it's going to go out the other end. If you're unhealthy and you have food for the parasites, then they hang out. You'll laugh because I got some songs I've been working on, which I'd love to have you on. And one of them is Parasite Party. Parasites,
Yeah.
parasites are partying, so how do you get rid of them? Take away their food, take away their
Right.
booze. They're going to go away. But some of these are obvious. This guy broke his hand, right? This shows up in the
There
blood.
it, oh, that's crazy. Yeah, there it is. Obvious.
Crazy. And this is so much bigger than the red cells. This cannot be in your bloodstream. All
Right.
right.
It can't get through the capillaries, so there's no way. You know what this kind of reminds me of is like those quantum physics experiments where when they were observing, they shoot the photons through the slit, and when you're looking, they behave one way and another. I wonder
Yeah.
if this shows up because you're consciously looking for it.
That's a good question. And someone has asked us that, and we try hard to be very impartial. Like we do not look at your history form ahead of time because that will influence us. And the one thing we will do is we'll say, before I take someone's blood, we really border on this wooey wooey, but there's a lot of hard patterns to some of these things. Okay. We'd love to, part of our goal, Dad's goal was to prove the soul and consciousness exist in the blood, and we use this to validate energy medicine, things you feel, but Western medicine says, nah, nothing. So this one, yeah, this is huge. If this was in the bloodstream, you'd have a problem, definitely.
Right.
And
And you would
and
see this if you took like 9 drops of this guy's blood, this thing will keep popping up, or similar, or
yes,
are they different
yes,
sometimes, or
they're similar. It's interesting because it's energy, and energy changes very often, very quickly. Your attitude and your mood can change like in an instant, right?
yeah.
So, and Josh is funny. At one point, there was a patient, and I don't have this one right here. Josh looked at her blood, everything was good. It's almost time for her to leave, and she starts talking about Obamacare. And she gets just angry. Rah, 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 rah. And Josh says, "Oh, let me take your blood." And there's this angry red thing. So this is Obamacare in the blood, right? Um, but it's that quick. And you're right. If I took your blood and you've got something that's an issue, every drop I take from you will show that issue in some way, shape, or form.
Right,
Okay.
yeah.
And I'm a technician, so I get the microscope. I'm in Mexico. Blood comes to me. I take pictures of everything I see and I get them to Josh, and then he does the report. I take a picture. I take pictures anywhere from 80 to 120 pictures of your blood. Okay. And I'm always going to take at least 2 or 3 drops, because if I take one drop and it doesn't spread right, I'm going to take another drop. We have videos for you listeners. We have videos of the same person's blood, and one looks horrible and one looks great because of the crappy way the person took the drop of blood. You squeeze too hard, you're crushing cells. If you drop the slide wrong, you squash cells. And I have videos, Steve, of people crushing cells. This woman, one of my Anna's friends, very well-known person, says to Anna, "What is this woman seeing in the blood?" And the video, I have to share it. In the video, the woman takes the drop of blood, squeezes the finger, puts the drop right on the slide, squashes it, and then takes another slide and scrapes the blood. It's like, and my Anna said, who cares what she's seeing in the blood? She just killed it. So
Right.
don't even care. So most of the images are dirt from people that do not know how to take a good drop of blood.
I mean,
And to
that's
the
just like, we can't say this on YouTube, but electron microscopy for, the boogeyman. Half the stuff you're seeing there, it's artifacts, the particles they claim
Yes,
are the boogeyman particles. It's
right.
a lot of it is probably the same way they treat them just to make the slides too. It's got so many parallels,
Yes.
I'm sure.
Well, and here's the thing though, too, even that electron microscopy, you're going to stain the image. It's dead. Okay. I'm looking at something that's alive, which is one thing.
Yeah.
And I said this, okay, and I did a video and I sent it to some people who were sharing things, and they weren't really cool to me about some of this stuff. And I'm easy, I don't care, but I don't know how to deal with that. So I share things. I sent it to Kaufman, and Kaufman said, "Yeah, you're right. Not everyone's going to want to hear this because it doesn't fit their crap, right?" So the thing is, and damn it, before I lose it, right before that, shit. Oh, can I swear? Damn it.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're talking about the slide, preparing the slides and pushing
Oh
them in
yes,
electron microscopy is dead. It's yeah.
right. So what we did once was I did a video and I said this. I said in my video, I can take a picture of my glass of water and tell you it's water, but how do you know it's not vodka or
Right.
gin? There is no way to do chemical analysis from a photograph. All right. So nothing. And I said to my senior group here, I said, wouldn't it be nice if you didn't have to worry about this stupid stuff and thinking this? And they went, yeah. And I said, so stop it. Now, I'm not saying that there's not, there's poisonous things that people are doing to themselves these days. Definitely. All right. At the same time, the microscopy images that people are sharing, no one should be listening to them. All right. And I said this to Kaufman, and then he actually quoted me. He said, you can't do chemical analysis from a picture. And there is one microscope that you can do spectrum analysis. All right. I have my GoFundMe, which I should push. Give us some money for microscopes, people. There's one microscope that will do spectrum analysis. Okay. And it's $150,000. And spectrum is the least consistent. And you know who has these microscopes?
Who?
The companies creating these experimental.
Yeah, you're right.
Yes, right. And the representative was very proud to say, yes, these are my clients. So I think someone on our side of the fence should have access to one of those,
Do they
right?
cost that much because they don't want our side to be able to buy them, do you reckon? Or are they,
Possibly. I don't know.
yeah.
There's only so far I go into that. For us, conspiracies are very interesting until they happen to you. So
Yeah.
when my dad was brought up on charges of curing someone illegally, the reality is they don't care about you. I've known this for decades, right? If there's a money thing, and read the book. Dad's got a book called Medical Conspiracy in America. So when people share conspiracies with us, my response is, yeah, I believe all kinds of things. That doesn't
Yeah,
mean I don't
very possible.
stuff in.
Now, let's say someone were poisoned. Is this more you're always seeing physical? It looks like it's mostly either organs or something physical. Can you see a poisoning?
Yeah, oh yeah, and I can show you pictures. That was the woman's
Yeah,
brain on drugs. That
right.
was toxins. And the health is very simple. Just people are complicated. The simplicity of health
Yeah,
is toxins enter and the body wants to get that crap out. And
right.
sometimes it has a problem. So yes, and I can show you some of those pictures. This was a leg issue. Person didn't even put that on the history form. They had a problem with their leg, but this to me looks like meridians and muscles, and there's something electric going on. This is nerve issues. This is the whole leg. Something was going on there.
Is that the
So
foot at the bottom, like a side view of the foot and the leg? Yeah.
totally, totally. And like I said, the person forgot to put it on the history form. We look at the blood and go, leg? And they went, oh yeah, yeah, leg issue. So we see things that people forget about. I'll scroll through a few one. This one looks like someone's head was blown off.
Yeah.
Like top of the skull, the neck, and they had neck issues. Wow. So get them to someone to work on that.
They look way out of
Um,
alignment. Yeah.
oh yeah, totally. It looks like the head was coming off their neck. And if it's a side view, it looks like they got shot in the head and something's blown out of
Yeah.
here. This one, this is heavy emotion. This is like the diaphragm area, and this was someone that just found out that their wife had cheated on them.
Really?
So yeah, this was like a punch to the gut. This
Right.
is
Yeah.
the colors are showing something. There's emotional things there. There's physical things. This one, I had this picture. I took this one to Tijuana at a dental clinic, and the woman said, "Oh, it looks like my dental implant." And I don't know what they look like. I'm not a dentist. And she got the X-ray out. So on this side, you're seeing this little weird thing that doesn't look natural. And these are white cells right here, and this is some bone around it. And here's her X-ray. Like
That's
these are,
crazy. Yeah.
yeah. So that was an issue for her.
So one of
Uh,
those was, yeah, whatever, something was wrong in there. That's crazy.
yeah. We get these ones like the top is the sonogram and the bottom is the blood. So
Right.
we get things that are matching anatomy. This one, oh, here's the poison, air pocket, right? This is my knee in the blood. This is the
Right.
one from the anatomy book, and you'll laugh because this was after someone fell on my knee at a Slayer concert. Mosh pits are some of my favorite places, and they're much more symbiotic than people think. But Slayer concerts, people get hurt at. So
And on the left of that is just a bubble or some dirt or whatever
yeah,
yeah,
air pocket with dirt. You got
right.
it.
But you guys
Decades.
quite often, like, you can, even if a woman like had a miscarriage or something, do you sometimes see like the fetus turn up, or if there's an issue with, you see that, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes. Definitely.
Without
We've
them
seen.
telling you, and you say, well, did you have a miscarriage? And you know.
Yeah, we asked questions, and it's funny. Josh and Dad would have this little technique of, abuse, and the person would say no, and then they would say, so abuse, and ask the question twice, and the second time people just start crying. So yeah, there's no secrets in the blood. And this one, I mean, this matches anatomy books.
Yeah.
This is, and I don't alter anything. This is another thing. Amanda Vollmer sent me images of recent ridiculousness, and I did a video for her. And I see these things, newer images where you see this boiling in the under the microscope. And I said, it looks like oil. Like, remember the old Pink Floyd videos, Black Sabbath, where they took the overhead projector, put some colored food coloring and oil in it, and like would spin it around and stuff. And you'd see these weird, trippy images that looked like lava lamps and stuff. It
Yeah,
looked
like
like
the
that.
acid 60s, 70s. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I looked at that and I said, it looks like that. And I did something unbelievable. I actually read what they were talking about. And the person says, well, then I added olive oil to the image. And then he added a mixture of olive oil and sage and rosemary. It's like, is he making a soup or a tea? Like, I don't alter my images. I put them on the damn microscope and there they are. Okay. The kidney image, it's like, I can't fake this. I can't Photoshop this. And people are with me. I put the drop, there it is. It just shows up.
Yeah,
So it still amazes me. I mean, these things match the anatomy books. Look at the lung, you know,
absolutely. Yeah.
and then it's grief. Lungs, the organs will typically show up because they're a result of something. It's usually not the cause. So you got lung issues. Is it grief? Is it the structure? There's a good one. You know what that
Is
one
that,
is?
is that a little bit of phallic one there or what? Yeah.
That's yeah. This is what happens when men get things snipped. Okay,
Oh,
you can
really?
see.
Like circumcision? Oh, the what do you call it? The tubes tied to, or the what do you call
Yes.
it?
What's it called? That's funny. Hysterectomy?
Vasectomy?
Vasectomy. Yeah,
Yeah.
hysterectomy is the female. Yes.
Yeah. Well, it
So,
depends these days. You can't tell.
oh yes, oh yes, we're all confused, aren't we?
Right. So this guy
But this
has a
is
vasectomy, and then
yeah, and this shows up, and it's an issue. You know, the body's not designed to be scarred, and just because you've had a vasectomy doesn't mean you're having issues. Okay, the body can deal with a lot of things. Whatever went on with this guy, this was an issue. All
right,
right. So the body said, ouch, I need this helped. And there's white cells and there's platelets here. Platelets are inflammation. And
right,
if you remember the presentation, you know, inflammation is actually how we heal. If a toxin enters, the body will excrete it. That's normal. If it doesn't do that, then inflammation happens.
right.
And
Yeah.
if it can't get stuff out, then we become inflamed.
Is this
Then we
kind of
have
normal?
things.
Like when there's inflammation, some that looks like it's bright orange and the trouble spot. Does that happen a lot where it shows you where in the organ is might be the trouble?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And the coloring here is irritation. The platelets are more of this stuff on the side, kind of the white cells are this cloudy stuff.
Right.
And we'll actually see platelets in the shape of organs. We had the platelet that was the shape of the liver, so we know there's inflammation in the liver.
Right.
You know, it's a little crazy, but this is the thing. We've seen these things hundreds of thousands of times. You know, I mean, I have a lot of these pictures. Not that I want to show you all my phallic pictures,
Go
right? Um,
on then.
What else did this one? So Dr. Hammer was studying CT scans and seeing images on CT scans when people had emotional issues.
He's the German new medicine guy.
You got it. You
Yeah.
got it. And we see very similar issues, similar things. So these are the worry cells, as we call them. You've had other people throughout the last few years have said they were other things, you know, geo-related things, and that's
Yeah.
wrong. We've seen this for years. This is a worry. You're worried about something. Okay. And like the bottom left, this is a scar on the left side. The body's concerned about a scar. The one on the bottom right, there's a little thing in the middle here at the bottom there. It could be a vertebrae or a tooth. So the body's concerned about that.
Oh,
So we
so it's
see
like showing you the word what it's even showing you what they're worried about sometimes.
totally,
Yeah.
totally. And I mean, it is bizarre. Oh, here was the other images. Yep, there's your air pocket. But it'll show you totally what you're worried about. We'll see a scar next to the liver. And oh, did you have a scar? Is there a surgery near the liver? Yes. We'll see a scar near the liver, and then we'll see inflammation. So there's a scar that's causing a block, and now there's inflammation in the liver. All
Right.
right. And I talked about at the presentation in Acapulco. There's a dad had a patient that had hepatitis C. She was diagnosed, was freaking out. People die from hepatitis. You know, it's this V thing that attacks the liver, you know, and then you've got inflammation. And when dad looked at her blood, he saw inflammation, definitely. He saw the liver, definitely. And then he saw her IUD, all right, her
Right.
intrauterine device. And those things are designed to create inflammation.
Yeah.
So dad said, how long have you had it? She had it for 7 years. So 7 years of trapped inflammation. The body is going to work every day, 24 hours a day to try to heal you. And it's going to get tired, all right? So she did something we would never recommend. She went in the bathroom at the clinic and she removed her IUD. So dad said, well, let's take a look at your blood again. And dad looks at the blood, sees inflammation is starting to leave the body. The liver is starting to change. IUD image is dissipating. And well, she goes off and does more tests, Western tests, and her hepatitis went away. Okay.
That's crazy. How long did that take? Just right away, or
I don't know how long it took her in general, but hepatitis doesn't usually go away.
yeah,
I mean, people die from it. So these are the pieces to the puzzle. Dad's hero was Sherlock Holmes, and he considered himself a medical detective.
yeah,
So it's looking at the pieces. And for people these days, people will send us one picture and say, "What's this? I don't know. I need to see the whole drop of blood." It's context. All right. You saw this in Anna's video, her presentation. She shows it looks like an eye, but then when you zoom out, it's not an eye. It's like a button on a shirt or something.
yeah,
So when I see one image, it doesn't make a difference. I need to see them all. And the rouleaus, these things where people show you the blood cells stacking on top of each other. I see that in everyone's blood. Everyone's blood. That doesn't mean I see it all over the blood. The cells, the older dying cells, start to push to the side. Like, see these cells here? Those are older
yeah,
cells. We're not looking at that right now, though. The first thing I do with the blood is I look for the best spot. That's your potential. When we see things like this right now, we're concerned about the hologram. We're not looking at the cells. See these cells?
right, yeah,
There's more space there, but they're a little off center, right? But I'm still going to keep looking at the blood till I see a good drop of blood, a good spot. That is your potential.
right.
Okay, that's in your body somewhere.
Do
Then
you
these
see
other things,
multiples though? Is it only one that turns up, or do you ever see like the same thing and like does it show up several times in one?
oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That's as I was saying before, is so if I take a drop of your blood, I'll take pictures of everything as a technician because I want to get everything to my brother so he can see the whole thing. Okay, the microscopes zoom in really, really, it's microscopic. So I don't ever get a picture of the whole drop. So I send him 80 to 120 pictures, and Josh goes through and he does the report. The report has 12 to 18 pictures. Why? Because what I'm doing is actually taking multiple pictures of the same thing.
right.
And it's like the blood is saying arm, 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 scar, scar,
Yes,
scar, scar. And for people that are conscious, you listen to your body and you hear these things. So all we're really doing is translating what your body is trying to tell you. We validate what people have thought, and then we educate you. You remember this, you forgot about this, and this, you had no idea how it was a piece of the puzzle and how it all fit together.
yeah.
And it can go back to birth. Something happened at birth, and then as you went on, you had an injury, and that affected your energy, and then later on you're angry, and then eventually you've got a liver issue because you were set off center physically. It affected you emotionally, and then with the scarring. So it all makes perfect sense to us with what we see. And
And
these
it's like
images,
you.
uh-huh,
I'm sorry.
it's okay.
It's like you've said. I've heard you say before. Like if it's a physical manifestation that you're seeing there, if it comes from an emotional source, if they haven't gone back and righted the emotional cause, right? You still, even if you cure, even if you broke your arm and it's better, you might
Right.
still see the thing, right? Until you clear the
Yes.
trauma.
Yes. 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 And it's a big deal. My dad said, as far as chronic disease was concerned, and by the way, chronic is a term that a doctor labels you with when they cannot help you. You're just going to be stuck with this forever, right? But that's their truth. I remember when I was younger looking up a list of chronic diseases, and my dad had worked with almost all of them. So we have a different truth these days.
Yeah.
But yes, my dad said 1,000% chronic disease is triggered emotionally. Okay. And the emotions will show up, they don't always show up initially. So I saw someone's blood recently and I saw structural issues and scar issues. She had a treatment. They worked on the scars and the structure. And then I saw her blood again. And then I saw all this emotional stuff, big ones. Wow. And I looked at her blood and I said, "So how was the treatment?" She said, "Good." I said, "Emotional?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "Big." And she gets a little teary eyed. So the thing is, the emotions showed up after the treatment because now the body's ready to deal with that stuff.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, that's kind of in line with both German New Medicine and the
You
mind
got it.
body Brofman. Have you ever read Martin Brofman? Anything can be healed.
No.
I'll send you a book. He's called Martin Brofman. He called it the mind body mirror system. You can either heal the mind and it will heal the body, or vice versa. Like
Right.
each one
Yes.
kicks off the healing in its opposite, kind of. I'll send you a
Yeah.
book. I think you'll find it interesting.
Cool. Awesome. And this is a thing too, Steve. We've spent most of our life in a microscope. And when our clinic was shut down, it was one of the best things, honestly, because then we could start to see what other people were doing. We
Yeah.
can share our work, and that's part of the idea these days is to, for a long time, we used to test things. We'd look at blood, we'd test your device or your water machine or things like that. And we got tired of telling people their stuff didn't do anything or it was just a band-aid, because the reality is we got to do our work. Nothing will fix you. Nothing makes you sick. Nothing fixes you. This is on you. It's like the contagion thing. Something is going on with you energetically, emotionally, your thought experience that's going to contribute to your disease, to your dis-ease, right? To your issue. So yes, you need to figure out what's going on. However, there's a law and order. There's a timing with everything. So if an emotionally traumatic event happens, most of the time we just file it away. We're not ready to deal with it right then. Life goes on and it can eat away at us. My dad's cancer experience, is there a different thing I should say about that? My dad's gone. It's okay.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you can, yeah, I mean, what are we looking at here too? Before, what is this we're looking at?
Yeah.
And then,
This,
then let's talk about your dad after we see this.
okay, this is a nice drop of blood. Okay, when I look at your blood, this is the first thing I'm going to look for. Look how happy these cells are. Those are happy white cells, right? Let me make sure this loops real quick. Dun, 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 dun. Zoom, no. Okay, we'll just make it play again. So this is what I look for. The first thing I look at your blood is the best spot. So the cells are not on top of each other, right? There's a lot of space there in the plasma. The cells are nice and round. They look strong. There's a few that are maybe a little off center. Over here, it's a little off center. So what that says is I'm a little off center. This is my blood, actually.
It's yours, yeah.
Um, yeah, but we look at the cells, the best spot. This looks nice. There's no rouleau. There's no stacking here. I look at the white cells. If you can see this white cell, it's very active, like there's activity, it's moving. So it's a
Right.
healthy white cell. Then I'm looking at your platelets. This little fuzzy thing here, this thing in the corner, those are platelets. That's
Mhm.
how we monitor your inflammation. Too many means something. Same with the white cells. If I see too many, that means something. And then the activity, the little guys moving around. Those are the symbionts or the bions, the microzymas, whatever you want to call
I
them.
was going to ask, is that like microzyma? Or that's Gaston Nasson's, yeah,
You got it. And
yeah.
Wilhelm Reich. And these little things, they help us to create who we are. They never die. They help us to decompose. And this, Steve, this is where we say, this helps us to create who we are. Okay. This is your smallest life form. We're learning more and more about them. But when we die, this is the Wilhelm Reich experiment. He observed the grass as it died and decomposed, and these little guys came out. And then over time, he watched them create new life.
Yeah.
So these guys help us to create who we are, then they help us to decompose. So the reality is the essence of who we are never dies.
It's them. I mean, Bechamp, he tried to kill those things with radiation. He couldn't get rid of them. Like they just
Oh,
keep
they,
coming
yeah,
back. The somatids, he was calling them. Yeah. They're,
yeah,
I mean, people are saying that's the basis of life, not DNA or the sperm or,
yes,
that's a
yes.
whole nother kind of field of thought.
Right. And we're working on it. We're learning more. This is where it's crazy because I'm a music teacher, but I'm involved in telling people that they never die and proving it, you know? And when dad looked at Gaston Nasson's microscope the very first time when he visited him, there's things in the blood that are small, that are shiny, that are not moving. And with Nasson's microscope, they zoomed in and they were perfect six-sided stars.
Really? Wow.
Right. And we know like Judaism, which I learned from Max Egan that I was a Jewish person. I'm not the bad guy, so yay. um, perfect six-sided stars. In Judaism, that's the Star of David. That
Yeah.
symbolizes the soul. And you know that it's two-dimensional we're seeing. So if we zoomed around, it's the Metatron's cube. It's the same shape as Emoto's love and gratitude crystal.
Yeah,
This
you'd
is
have your
like,
hexagon. This would be like the space geometry where all form can come from.
yes. So you're getting sacred geometry in the blood, right?
Right. Just two-dimensionally, but yeah,
Yes. And if you think about the cloning idea, if someone took my blood and cloned me, I should have my broken collarbone in the clone. So
right.
somehow that information's there, right? So let's keep looking though. So this is a good drop of blood. Now, if I scroll to the side on this, these are the youngest cells in my blood. They can be a day old or up to 120 days old. If I scroll to the side, I can see rouleau, older crappy cells.
So
But
that's when
that's not a
people are like,
problem.
"Oh, your platelets are all stacked up." It depends where you're looking, basically. Is that
Yeah.
what you mean?
Yeah, and if anyone goes to get live blood analysis done, ask the person when they show you that if they can scroll to the left or the right a little bit, and you're going to see something different.
Right.
Okay, and Steve, I can show you crappy blood and then give you a supplement and then show you better blood, all in the same drop of blood.
Well, I was going to say, I've heard stories where people get crappy blood stacked and then they go drink a glass of water and get hydrated and then it looks perfect like 10 minutes later.
Sure, or not. I mean, there's a lot of things that can change the blood, but I have to see it myself to believe it because I
Yeah.
do not trust anyone doing live blood analysis because
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
very inconsistent. I don't trust how they take a drop. I don't trust what they're looking at. Yeah.
Well, again,
So,
it's the same with the boogeyman urologists. They're picking and choosing for 3 hours till they want to show you that one half of a thing with
right,
the dots
right,
they claim to be boogeyman particles, but you're like, show me the rest, mate.
right. Exactly.
You
You
know,
got it. You got it. Platelets, we get bigger platelets. This is maybe the liver over here. So there's inflammation in the liver. Here's your cells. Oh, they're real low. Uh-oh, crappy. But this can be the same person's blood, top left and bottom right. Just
right,
depends on where you look, right? So platelets, this is a giant platelet. This is giant area of trapped inflammation. Western medicine will take a platelet count, but they don't take into account the size. And my dad learned that the size was important.
what is the difference?
The smaller the platelets, the more chronic the issue, larger the more acute.
Right,
And
okay.
and also depending on. So if I see this before a treatment, you have a big area of trapped inflammation. Then we're also looking at other drops or other spots in the blood to see what's the block that's causing the inflammation to be trapped. We'll remove the block, and then after the treatment, I expect to see less platelets. Now, if I look at your blood and we see no platelets like this, then you have a treatment, and then I see this after, that means the treatment is helping to release some trapped inflammation.
Right.
All right.
Yeah,
So
because the
big, big,
inflammation is healing, really. It's always a state of healing.
yes. And right now they're trying to eradicate the inflammation gene, right? Dumb, 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 right? It's ridiculous what they're doing.
Is there
Inflammation's
such a
how
thing?
we,
I don't even think there is such a thing.
now, you know what they're going to find, Steve? They're going to find that little symbiote. It morphs and changes into everything.
Yeah,
Okay. So if they figure something out, they're going to figure out that that little guy creates the cancer cells. They're going to remove that, but that's your chi. It's your force. It's the prana. So they're
yeah.
going to remove your life force to create health.
But it
Hmm.
won't because it'll come back in it'll just come back in the
Ah,
pleomorphic cycle. They can't get rid of it.
right. We see this stuff a lot. Debris is what we call it. This could be your heavy metals, okay? But we don't care what it is. We're not going to identify it and we're never going to treat your heavy metals. If the river flows, everything is awesome. Tree falls on the edge of the river, an eddy and debris accumulates behind the tree. So we can chelate that debris and detox or get rid of the damn tree,
Right.
okay? So
I
same
like that,
idea.
man, because I saw you talking with Dawn Lester, who says hi, by the way. I think my picture says I'm Dawn Lester because I'm using her Zoom so we can talk longer.
Nice.
But like I heard you guys aren't I do some fasts and master cleanses and stuff, but I heard you guys talking more about naturally. Don't try to do like extreme weird
Right.
healing events. What's that all about?
Right. It's for us, it's the terrain. You know, you look at nature, and Dad would say, I've never seen a deer doing an enema in the woods, right? Or a colonic or anything like that.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, you have debris. Yes, there are ways to cleanse naturally. Dogs will eat grass when there's something in the digestive system, it'll flush things out, right? But my dad would say he can release more debris from your body with one scar treatment than you can fasting for a week. Okay. And if we're like nature, you look at nature, some animals eat a lot, then they fast.
Yeah.
You know, for most of us, we eat so much crap. So if we were to fast for a little bit, we're going to feel different. We're going to feel some clarity. If we're going to clean up our diet and go vegetarian for a while, we're going to feel better, right? That doesn't mean we need to be a vegetarian. Everyone is different, you know. So Dawn's a perfect example. Dawn and I, if we both go into the nature or in the grocery store, right? She's like the hummingbird who's going to be attracted to the beautiful fruit,
Yeah.
you know, and I'm like the wolf who's going to be attracted to the beautiful ribeye.
Yeah.
Right? And it's different. And the thing is, for people listening, diet we never talk about because it's very different for everybody. My dad would say, if you can't pronounce what's on the label, don't put it in your body. Eat locally, things like that. There's something to the Ayurvedic diet and to the blood type, but not for everybody because everyone's different. And my dad knew Atkins from the Atkins diet, and
Oh
more
yeah,
people
the
lost weight.
Atkins one. Yeah, I remember that. My dad did that too. He lost a lot of weight when he did do it.
Everybody, more people lost weight on that diet than any other diet, but a lot of people gained weight on that diet.
He did afterward. Yeah, it's like it worked for a while and then it just shut everything down.
Well, and the thing is, sustainable. We're all about the KISS principle. Keep it simple and sustainable, not keep it simple, stupid, you know? So things like this, people have debris, right? And we believe definitely in putting a Band-Aid on the front of the dam when you get to the back to fix things. So if you've got toxicity and you've got debris and you need to do some detoxing, great. But if you need to do it consistently, that's not cool. The body doesn't like that. That's a problem. If you have debris and heavy metals consistently, it's because there's a scar somewhere that's impeding the flow of circulation and respiration and excretion and things like this. So, and it's funny because there's a lot of women had a C-section and then there's some weight they can't get off in that area. It's because of the scar. Women listening, there's nothing you can do to get that weight off. It's not your fault. You need to get the scar worked on. It's like a
Right.
dam. It's a physical block, energetic, and think of the tree. There's your scar. Debris. I have pictures of scars with debris right next to the scar.
Yeah.
So this to us makes a lot of sense, right? This is just nice looking blood, the different valences as we call it. So if you look at this, the amount of activity, the little guy is moving around. All right. Too few means something. Too much means something. We want a nice happy balance. Check out this one. This is what we call the snowstorm. Okay.
So that's
This is
all microzyma flying around in there?
yeah, check
That's
this out. This is
crazy.
the body is working. It's working, working, working. Okay. And this is an interesting one too, because we have people that are EMF sensitive, right? Some of them are crazy. Some of them really have something going on. And we've done the tests, right? You can't come to the clinic unless we turn off the router. So we tell you we turned off the router and you go, oh, I feel better.
Yeah.
These are the experiments. And
Oh,
well, we
you're
didn't
just
turn off the
messing with
router.
them. You didn't really, or what, like placebo. Does that ever
Right.
work? Like, does it,
Oh yeah.
if they believe you did, does it actually stop the activity like a placebo or nocebo or
Oh, yeah, it's interesting. Yes, the placebo effect is very real. It's been proven. So definitely, most of what goes on with us is a head trip. Okay,
yeah,
but and the people that are truly EMF sensitive, we typically see this. There's so much activity, and this can be like your body's own electromagnetic experience, right? This is the energy in your body. So the energy is going crazy, and then you turn on a light switch. You know what I mean? So this is something we see in people that are truly EMF sensitive,
right.
right?
That's totally
Um,
crazy.
and
You were
I,
cracking me up too about we were talking about the couples where you had like a husband and wife and you're actually seeing the other person. It's like the spouse's thing is turning up the spouse's blood out.
right, yeah,
You're like, I don't know how to tell you this, but it's your wife. What have
right.
you seen like that? Tell us what you've seen like that.
That's
That
cool. I'll tell you. Let me stop the share on this one for
if
a
you
second.
can, I don't know if that's like personal or whatever. And you were also telling me about like the singles day at your dad's clinic and
Yeah, all right.
divorce.
Yeah, these are the good stories. And you're right. Josh and I are funny because we'll go on autopilot a lot. It's dad and that's important and then some slides and then blah blah blah. But the people that do the right interviews with us, some people we just take over the show and we just go and they kind of go, we had someone actually delete the interview because they were like, I just sat there with my mouth open like a codfish and I said nothing and it's my show. So next time, let me talk. But Josh and I do autopilot, the stories that we don't always get to say. So I appreciate you bringing that up and asking. Yes, we had some interesting things at the clinic. Dad and Josh looking at blood of the spouse, right? Looking at the one person and the spine is weak and they're bent over and it's like someone's beating them down, right? So Josh and Dad, they'd slip a little, they would do things to strengthen the spine, right? And then what happens? Then you spine up and you stand up for yourself. So they were responsible for a few divorces. You could look at the blood, you could tell the spouse was the issue, but you can't say that, but we can strengthen your spine, and then all of a sudden there's a divorce.
With like stem
Interesting.
cells or what you spine them up with stem cells and then they
Or just,
put
a
their
lot of the
stuff.
times, well, stem cells are funny. Stem cells will do what they need to do, but first we need to align the body. And I can tell you a quick stem cell story. So no, sometimes we would slip a little spine, yeah, into their cocktail, some spine cell therapy or stem cell stuff. Yes, definitely. But Stem cells are interesting. I was watching a guy in Tijuana getting stem cells. They were extracting. So they actually drilled into his shin with a bone drill, you know? Um, and I was talking to the guy and he said, it's the best thing I've ever done. And I said, but you're just getting it done. He said, no, this is the third time. And I said, whoa, well, why? You know, and he said, it's my knees. I have degenerative knees, you know, and the cartilage, and then they regenerate the cartilage. And 6 months later, I come back. And I don't say these things in the office, but the reality is, dude, the degeneration of your cartilage is because your hips are out of alignment. So the thing is, when we used to do stem cells in Mexico, we look at your blood, we align the body, remove the blocks, deal with the scars, then administer the stem cells and continue to support. This guy didn't need to go back 3 times. That's like $60,000.
All right, he's blowing cash because he didn't fix the problem. You mean first?
You got it.
Yeah.
Right. He's working with the results and he's regenerating, but if they aligned the hips, they'd regenerate and he would never have to go back for stem cells. The doctor doesn't really want to hear that from me because, well, 20,000 versus 60,000, there's money involved. Right?
That's a new yacht.
But the,
What do they
other
go to,
thing
like
too,
an osteopath for that, or a chiropractor?
yeah, for us it's osteopaths, big
But
time. It's
yeah, instead of because the chiropractors are pretty brutal on you, aren't they?
Yeah,
Sometimes.
and this is the thing. There's 2 things with this too. My dad learned about this from Edgar Casey. So
Yeah.
my dad studied Edgar Casey's medical readings, and after every reading, he recommended osteopathic bodywork. So my dad thought, huh, I'll try that. Let's see what happens. And it
Yeah.
was like his results started to skyrocket.
Right.
Edgar Casey hated chiropractors. I blame that on him, okay? Mike Wilkerson's a chiropractor, love that guy, right?
Love it.
However, the deal is this. If you ask my dad, I want to work with people, what do I do? Dad would say, go become a chiropractor. It's the easiest one as far as schooling, and then you can touch people, and then you can do whatever the hell you want. So chiropractors these days are doing all kinds of different things. You can't really generalize so much. And the body does not like to be forced. You know, Dad would say, I've never seen a deer doing a chiropractic treatment in the woods. Deers don't have car accidents. Deers don't have stress, you know, and relationships and that kind of crap. So they have different things going on. But no, the reality is we need gentle manipulation. And the things that have gone on with osteopathy, all the medical schools in the States were osteopathic before Carnegie and Rockefeller,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
And in the
Flexner.
States,
Yeah.
yeah, in the States, the osteopaths go for the 7 years of medical school and 2 more years. Like my dad said, he never learned about the structure in medical school.
Right.
And the amount of structural issues we see, crazy. So structural issues, definitely. It's the first place we're going to start. Align the damn car. It's going to let the energy flow, the circulation, the digestion is going to be better. So many people with digestive issues on supplements and restrictive diets. That sucks. I love food. I want to eat whatever the hell I want to eat.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it's the body's out of alignment, putting pressure on the system. The system's not efficient.
What
I
about like
mean,
Qigong, stretching for scar, expanding scar tissue and stuff? Is that like Qigong is it's kind of doing that, isn't it? Really just opening up all the
yes.
stretching the scar, because the scar tissue is really what it's doing is contracting somewhere, and then
Right.
that's pulling somewhere else out of alignment, right? Like if you twist a balloon
Yes.
down here,
You got it.
like a clown making balloon animals, you twist this shit and suddenly you got a dog, but
Right. Yeah, totally. But now you got things are bad. Your inflammation is bigger over here, and over
yeah.
here there's nothing. Right. And
I
this,
think
if I
I
touch,
got that now. Yeah, I broke my ribs. I fell down on some stairs back in late September, and like the ribs should be healed by now, but I still have pain when I'm sleeping. I think it's the tissue probably now, not the bone.
yeah, you get adhesions and different things that happen. And the thing is, anytime you break something, you want to let it heal, and you want to get to the osteopath.
Right.
When I broke my collarbone skateboarding, I broke my collarbone skateboarding, and we got in the car, went straight past the hospital, and went to the osteopath, right?
Yeah.
And it was funny because I'm in shock. My shoulder is weird, and they tell me at the hospital, it's like, well, we're gonna have to put things in place and whatever, but your shoulder's gonna be weird for the rest of your life because the muscles they're tight. So the bone is this and it breaks and they pull. So we go to the osteopath who loosens the muscles, and the bone goes back. So
Right.
my shoulders are pretty good, you know,
Yeah.
and I have less issue because of what the hospital would have done or the way the thing would have healed out of alignment.
Yeah.
So Big things. And for you, though, still, the body is awesome. What it can do as far as recuperating, I mean, we're part of nature, and nature regenerates, wow, so quick. Awesome. I mean, we got locked in, and the bison came down to the beach, in like Catalina and in Barcelona, the javelina were roaming through the streets. Like the animals came back out. And they said the Lake Michigan got clearer, and you could actually see like the Himalayas, you could see farther up the mountains. So we got out of the way and nature started to repair itself. I
Right.
think we
I
should,
think they were saying you could actually see the sky in Los Angeles for the first time in 40 years or something like that. Like,
yeah, I think we should lock it once a year for a month. We should all stop working, hang out with our families, hang out in the park, not drive anywhere and relax. And I think
yeah, don't
everyone's
give them
gonna,
any ideas though. The elites will,
yeah, yeah, right. True, true, too true.
ixnay with the Agenda 21 today, man.
Well, and the thing is too, I talked to, and I'll say one other thing with the relationship thing, as you mentioned before. Yeah, Dad used to do at the clinics. He would do singles on Wednesdays, and the singles didn't
Yeah.
know that. So we were responsible for some divorces and then some marriages as well. So single patients afraid, freaking out, other single patients, and they can regroup
And
and
that's
awesome.
hysterical, man. But the same divorcees, you're like, divorce on Tuesday, come back next Wednesday. We got
Yep, exactly.
Almost cupcake day. Now, like if people, because you're down in Mexico, so if people want to, so you're the Bigelsen Academy, just tell people real quick, like, and there is a time limit, right? Like if you want to send your blood for analysis and stuff, it's only you've only got a few days, right? Or
Yeah. Yeah. At this point, and thank you for asking, because we talk about all this stuff for hours and we never tell people what we're doing. So then we have no money.
yeah, yeah, I mean,
We
like,
love what we do. I'll tell you all about it. I talked to someone out of a consultation the other day because I gave them all the answers. So we do a few things. Bigelsen Academy is our website, and we're doing our consultations. They're educational consultations. All right. We're not curing things. We're not even treating people, but we educate you as to what we see in the blood, blocks, and to treatments, therapies, ideally practitioners that have helped other people in your situation and circumstance. In the US, we send out the slide kits. You stick your finger, put the blood on the mic on the slide, get it back to us within 36 hours, and we can see what we need to see.
and they got to be
Um,
careful, like you said, though. They can't be dodgy. It's you have to be.
yeah.
Do
Oh
you
yeah.
teach them in the kit how to really do a real
Yes.
blood? All right, yeah,
Yeah. I have a video which will teach you how to do it, and I guarantee you're
right.
going to take a better job. I mean, we worked with a famous chiropractor once that does the blood, and we said, take a good drop of blood, and we showed him, and we heard his people go, "Oh crap!" Like they're not taking good drops of blood. Then you get a total misrepresentation of your client. So yeah, we'll teach everyone how to take a good drop of blood.
Right, yeah.
But you get the blood back, we can do the report. Ideally, if you're close, like in Mexico, I'm a technician, so people can send me the blood, or if they're close, I'll take their blood and then I get the live blood, which is awesome. We have a microscope in Spain that's slightly dysfunctional now, so people used to send it in Spain. I just am talking to people in England and UK. So if all goes well, we'll get the blood to UK soon. And our goal is to get microscopes around the world.
Right.
So you go to the closest one, get the blood to us, and then awesome. And then we're going to support the local practitioners. Go find your damn osteopath. Find someone to work with the scars. Get some acupuncture. And we'll help you, we'll support you, we'll motivate you, encourage you. We can do follow-ups as time goes on, definitely. It's an easy enough process. And the reality is once you learn, you get it.
Yeah.
And it's not something you have to do forever. We look at your blood once, we validate what you've thought. If you're going through a crisis, then we can help support you and get you to the right people. What we'd really like to do is look at people's blood before they're having a crisis, because we educate you and then you don't have to have the crisis, right?
Oh, because
You asked it.
you'll see right away the hologram. You'll say, all right, this I mean, like I heard you talking to Mike Wilkerson about it'd be awesome if you guys had some kind of AI database where you had, you know what I mean, where you like you got all the liver pictures and all the heart pictures and all the feet,
Yes.
it would be a lot
Pattern
cooler because
recognition.
then other because you guys have all the experience, but no other doctor or practitioner they're not going to have the experience to know what they're looking at. So that'd be
Right.
awesome if it could be taught. I mean, like
Yeah.
allopathic people, they're probably just totally against. They'd have no idea what you're talking about. They must think you're
Which is,
crazy.
well, which is fine. Well, Dr. Bob wanted to talk to me after my
Oh yeah,
presentation.
I introduced you to Dr. Bob. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
cool.
And he had some questions, and the questions made sense.
Yeah.
and I have MDs that are interested in what we do because it makes sense, right? And yes,
Yeah.
with Mike was interesting. These days we've got tens of thousands of images. I'm talking to people right now because technology's changed. Our database was, we don't have access to it, but Dad was mapping patterns of disease. So we could see that fibromyalgia, the majority of women with fibromyalgia in Dad's office had IUDs.
Right.
There's a pattern there, okay? The amount of people we saw with Lyme disease, with root canals or things like that,
Oh man, like cancer and root canals, I heard there's like a massive
there's some correlations, big
yeah,
time. So mapping patterns is important. And yes, for us now, Josh has so many images. I take 100 images, he labels 15. So out of those 15, there's still another 85 that haven't been labeled and they're consistent. So
yeah,
we can very easily take 100 kidney images, plug it into some AI, and then plug in our other images to see what's a pattern.
yeah.
And for people listening, we still need support. As we're doing this, I'm talking to some people, and it's not rocket science, but I don't know how to do these things. I got to do the webinars, I got to do the emails, I got to do the training courses. It's crazy the amount of work I have, and where team is happening, which is nice. But the patterns, that's what's important. And yeah,
Do you
with
have
Mike,
like a GoFundMe or like if people want to donate, like you were saying, you guys want to buy that microscope, but it's 150 G's. But
yeah.
like, do you guys have a GoFundMe or where can people donate or help out if they want to kick in?
Yes, and I appreciate that. Supportterrain.com. And if you go there, we just did this. I don't know how to ask people for money. I'm the guy people come to for help. So when I need help, I don't know how to ask for it.
Just like
So
that. Just say, hey, help a brother out, man. If you got if you got some extra
I'm
change.
learning. Starving musician, get my hat out, right? And dude,
Put
even
your
with the
hat
band,
out.
even with the damn band, it was like we'd play at the bar and the bartender would come up and put the hat in front of us. It was like, oh, thanks. We forgot. Now we're not starving musicians. But yeah, supportterrain.com. Dawn did a video for us there, and some other people did a
Yeah.
video. It was
And
awesome.
Bigelsen Academy is also .com as well.
Yeah. If
Yeah.
you type up my name, Bigelsen, Bigelsen, you'll find stuff. You'll find us on Quackwatch, which is where all the good doctors are,
Quack
right?
Watch.
Yep. Uh-huh.
Do you guys have a wiki? Doesn't Wikipedia have like a what do they call it? Wiki Quack or Quackopedia or something? There's people.
Probably. Yeah, probably. But we're out there. Dad was on Coast to Coast with George Norrie. Dad was on Dateline in the 90s. He's on Guy MTV with Regina Meredith. There's a lot of stuff out there with him. So check him out if you can find him. And for us, we're doing the consultations.
That's Harvey. He's Harvey Bigelsen. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing, like we're at a point now where the people who are stuck in that allopathic thing, like they're gonna get their unfortunately unjust desserts, but we're
Yeah.
at the point now where even if it's a small section of humanity who are starting to figure out that allopathic thing's no good.
Yeah.
Not everyone's going to come. So the way I see it now is just like we're here. If you were lucky enough to hear about us and it
Right.
didn't work for you over there,
Yeah.
come on
Yeah.
over. Yes,
And that's totally us, Steve. The thing is, if you dig deep enough into the terrain, under the last rock, you find us.
yeah,
you know and this has been our life. Tom Cowan asked Josh during one of our things with him, when did the terrain start for you? And Josh said, I've never known any different. This is how I lived with my dad. I saw Dad when he was younger, and he was an eye surgeon, and we had the Porsche and the Jaguar and junk food, and he was fat and near suicidal. He was unhappy. But Josh said, I've never known any different. This is our life. I mean,
right,
I, I'm healthy, knock on wood, but no one's perfect. We got our stuff. We have lessons to learn. But we want to help. So we educate you. We have our School of Health, which is webinars. Josh and I do 2 webinars a month. One is an interview and one is just a Q&A. $27. Ask us whatever questions you want. People
yeah.
emailing me with questions, don't email me with questions. I can't even get to your emails. I want to hire someone at some point. Show up to the webinar, ask a question. For $50, you can get on with me and you can do an appointment, and I'll chat with you for an hour or so, and we'll come up with some ideas. But the reality is there's only so many questions I can answer without looking at your blood. And we
Yeah,
see this at the end of our presentations. If you have questions, the answers are in the blood.
yeah,
And what I've said to people, Steve, is I don't know everything, but I think between us, we have all the answers. So if I look at you, your blood, you know things, you're going to tell me things, I'm going to ask questions, and we can figure things out because health is simple.
Yeah.
People are complicated. We make things much more difficult than we need
Oh,
to, right?
well, I think, what's cool too is now be I've been down the rabbit hole. I found out Boogeyman wasn't real back in 2005, six. But I never heard of you guys until like last year, and I've heard of a lot of weird stuff, Adam, but I haven't heard of you guys.
Yeah,
I just kind of ran into you guys. Um,
right.
and you're the same, now you're talking to people like Vita Austin and people who are talking about holographic reality and maybe, like like you're saying, we don't know exactly how this works. We just know that it works. And I
Yeah,
think what's cool is you guys are starting to now meet people in non-traditional, let's call it more metaphysical realms of research and understanding. So I think like you guys are probably going to make quote unquote quantum leaps very soon
yeah,
because you're going to have people with totally different ideas about what you might be seeing. What I think
yeah.
would be great if you could get the AI thing going is then you don't need to do everyone's blood. If you had a thing where you say, here, prick yourself, stick it in this thing, and this computer program will tell you what it is, that would be
Right.
great.
Well, and it's funny too because it's a fine line these days, where they're going with 15-minute cities, and we're doing something similar, but it's nature. They're isolating and we're expanding, right?
Yeah.
So there's a big difference there. And it's definitely that's part of the thought is if I could get something, you stick your finger in there, it sticks your finger. There's patterns is one thing, but then it's a question of you doing your experience,
Yeah.
and my dad would say 10 people get cancer for 10 different reasons. So there's patterns here, and it's always got to be you got to be involved. The history form we have is unique. We ask some questions that are not typical. Like if you have mononucleosis, we know there was a problem with your belly button and something went on with birth.
That's
There's this
crazy because I had mono when I was in the hospital for like 2 weeks when I was about 10. And they said,
wow.
it's the kissing disease. And I'm like, I'm 10, mate. I'm not kissing. Well,
Right, right.
what are you talking
Fear scare you out of kissing, maybe. I
about?
think that
But
came from
like
the church.
I was in there like dying and shit. So it's a scar. Yeah, that's crazy. So it's what from like you're getting your umbilical cord cut too early or something?
This
And then
is yeah,
what's
this
that
is
all about?
if you watch the thing I did at Anarchapulco, in 40 minutes I gave you answers for a few chronic diseases.
Yeah.
Okay. Today we talked about hepatitis. So anyone who's a physician, go look at inflammation, find some scars, see what's causing the inflammation,
And
right?
by the way,
Uh,
for YouTube, disclaimer. This
yes.
is not medical advice, it's information only, right? But yeah, let's say
Yes.
this was medical information only. Give us like three or four quick ones just off the bat. You don't need detailed explanation, but let's say that one. So we
Sure.
got hepatitis.
Okay, so here's two related to the belly button. The chronic disease, lower back pain is a chronic disease. Okay, and the belly button. Typically, what happens in the States is you have the innie, like the innie or the outie belly button, right? And what happens is you're
What do
born,
you
they
have?
pull.
What do you get?
Mine's actually flat. Mine's a trip. I've had a lot of
And
treatments,
then
so
Audi. Yeah, all right.
yeah,
I've
I
got an
have.
innie.
Yeah, I know this. I don't have to tell you. So here's the thing. What Dad noticed is when you're born in the States in particular, they pull out the umbilical cord and they cut it close. So you have this pretty little belly button. But what they don't realize is the umbilical ligament is attached to the roof of the diaphragm and it's attached to the pubic symphysis. So when they pull this out when you're born, it's like a drawstring. It pulls the diaphragm down. Okay. Then they tie
Right.
it and it's tight. And then as you grow, it's not dead, but it's stagnant tissue. So as you grow up, this is one reason we lose our height as we get older.
Oh,
It,
like
it's
get the hunch shoulders. Yeah,
yeah, totally. And if, like I said, if I tuck my shirt in too tight here, you feel it here, right? So
right.
now your belly is tight and eventually your back hurts.
You mean
The
like the
back,
NASA guys who are flying around in zero gravity with their harnesses? No,
possibly, but
no,
the
but
belly button's here
yeah. So it's like
below
when
the
you tie
back
your
bone.
shoelaces too tight and then down by the toe, they start getting tighter and tighter until you can't get your shoe on again.
You got it. So you go to
Yeah.
your back doctor, they're going to work on your back and work on your back. The back is the result. It's not the problem. The problem is coming from the front. Okay. So, and the osteopath we worked with would say, you step on a cat's tail and it screams. So you can shut its mouth, but that's not where the thing started,
Yeah.
right? So the belly button, if it's too tight, you got lower back pain. That's a chronic disease. So we can work with your belly button and the diaphragm, and then your back pain goes away.
Right. Instead of the
Now,
back, instead of going and getting your back cracked by a chiropractor, you're not doing anything. Right. Yeah. Yeah. That makes
right,
much more sense.
totally. Well, and even more so with the belly button, as you grow up, it's continuing to pull the diaphragm down.
Yeah.
So 10 to 13 years after you're born, the diaphragm is pulled down onto the liver starts to back up, and now you have mononucleosis.
That's what the mono is. Yeah, man. Instead of the kissing disease, that makes way so much more sense. But the
Yeah.
weird thing is though, so like me when I was in the hospital 2 weeks, the mono went away. I don't know what they did. They probably drugged me with a bunch of crap, but like
Sure.
why did it go away in 2 weeks if it didn't really heal the problem
It's
or
not that it went away, is what they do is they give you antibiotics and they push things deeper.
right?
Okay. So this is that homotoxicology chart. The first thing, the progression of disease is excretion. So coughing, right? We cough something out. But coughing sucks. So we take cough syrup.
Right. Yeah, suppressants. Yeah.
Right. But then you have inflammation. Then you have bronchitis. Okay. And why? Because the body's trying to push crap out. But we don't like that. So we're going to do other things. And then now you have chronic obstructive, like now you've got real bronchitis. And eventually you
Yeah.
have emphysema. You
Yeah.
know, you're not getting better. They're suppressing the symptoms, and it was funny because what was it? I forgot someone had the pains they were going through and they said, I had a treatment and I feel better. And our response was, actually, you feel nothing. Like, and it's the simple idea of the fire alarm is going off because the fire is burning the house down. So you get up and turn off the fire alarm because it irritates you. Then your
Right.
house burns down, right?
Yeah.
So the emotions can eat away at us. Dad's liver cancer patients were angry. The lung cancer patients was grief. We need the tools, the emotional tools. Qigong is awesome. Okay.
Right.
Qigong is movement, elasticity, and the more we're flexible, the more things can flow.
So
Right.
you're
So
saying all the
that's great.
stretching and stuff can start to re-stretch that, loosen the shoelaces, so to speak. You don't
Yeah.
need a surgery, or you can just start stretching and stretching. Yoga would probably be
Right.
great, wouldn't it? Or
Yoga is good, Pilates, but depending on, it's not a forceful thing, okay? And to do things like, if you have restriction, get some castor oil. Like castor oil permeates and lubricate the car. Get to the body worker, align the car first. That's one thing. Then lube the car up when you can. Get your joy in life. Let the energy flow. Qigong for me is awesome. I do it every day, 20
yeah,
minutes, right? And there's sounds. I'm like sending the liver anger out, and then I'm bringing in the joy, and I feel my range of motion, and I can feel if I can't go so far. I'm very conscious of my body. This is what we need to do, Steve, is become conscious of who we are, what we're doing, and how it's affecting us.
right. Yeah, yeah, totally.
And that's it. That's it. I mean, your relationship, she's pretty. She's kind of a jerk, I had that relationship, definitely. Does it affect my energy? Does it affect my health? Yes, totally. Right? You know how some people you just feel good around them. You feel
Oh yeah, the
relaxed.
vibe. Yeah, yeah, total.
That's important, and
Absolutely.
really
Yeah.
my dad would say, first of all, align the damn car, get the energy to flow, right? Take restrictions off things, and then get some joy.
Right.
Joy in your life, and he said this to someone that had prostate cancer as a documentarian. The guy said, what do I do to avoid these things? And he said, the thing that will change your pH quicker than anything and change your blood faster than anything is joy.
Joy. Yeah. Laugh, have a good laugh.
Oh my God, it's
No
so
one's getting
healthy.
out alive, so you might as well have a good time while you're
Well,
here.
and you've heard these things, dude. Laughter is
Yeah.
the best medicine. And even chicken soup, the
Yeah.
main ingredient was love.
Yeah.
Your
Oh,
Canton's
there
chicken
is
soup,
that. Yeah, like cooking, there's some about
grandma's
home
chicken
cooked
soup.
food where someone's putting in their energy and time, besides there's no chemicals, but I'm
Right.
well into that. And a lot of people I knew who had cancer, or some are dead, like an old bandmate of mine, he died very young. They
Right.
were like miserable at the time. They were miserable people. They just,
Yeah.
everything was yeah, and even some
Right.
relatives of mine who are cancer free now, at the time they were going through, in hindsight, a really hard time. So to me,
Yeah.
there is a lot to that German new medicine. Like I don't put all my faith in German new medicine or biochemistry or whatever, but I do believe
Pieces to the
they have,
puzzle. Yeah.
I do believe they're a circle connected, and
Yeah.
yeah, totally. Yeah, I'm going to send you this book too. I think you're going to love this book. It's really,
Cool. Well,
uh,
and I read a book recently that I loved, which was your Dukes of Dents, the Dents Dukes.
oh yeah. Are you going to give
Uh,
me a chance to shamelessly plug my own self back or what?
yes. Well, and I get chills with this one too, Steve. Here's the
Yeah.
deal. This is where I'm really at, okay? Dad worked with cancer patients and he helped, and then he got in trouble for it because it's big money, right? Josh and I want to educate people so they never have to come to us with those things. We want to share the joy. We want to live in a world with happy, healthy people, right? So I can argue with the local seniors about what's in the poisons and about what they're seeing. All the other microscopists are saying this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can listen to the sheep just like everybody else or not. So I can do that or I can work with the kids. And I took my microscope to the local Waldorf school and worked with the 12-year-olds. And we looked at blood. And I taught the fifth grade at one point. I taught the English class. And as I'm going through the chapters, and here's the section on health, which is teaching the kids how stupid home remedies are and how dumb your mom is and how you should ask the doctor and not your mother.
Oh my
Right.
dear God, is that
And
right?
this is at the Waldorf school. This is their curriculum, right? So
Yeah.
I said to the director, I'm not doing this. And I taught something else. I wrote a song, a children's song, right? And then I actually, as I worked with the kids for 2 weeks, I asked them at the end of 2 weeks, why do we get sick? And not one of these kids said because they hang out with other sick people.
Good. All right. Yeah.
That's our future. You met Anna's kids. You see what
Yeah.
they do,
Oh, I can't
right?
say that was another
Yeah.
quote unquote miracle
Chills.
that ended my week, but I know we can't say anything, but that just, I
Stay
mean,
tuned.
yeah, I wish I could tell people, but for
Yep.
me, that just is like to end the craziest week of my life to experience that. I was like, Jesus Christ,
Dude,
I
the
don't
future
know
is this
what's
is our
going
future.
on.
And the future is bright. And Marceline is coming in a couple weeks to do more filming. So we're going to do an
Yeah,
episode on some of what we're talking about. But the
yeah.
future is awesome. And as we get to the end here, I'll tell you, I talked to Nick Begich once. You know who Nick Begich is?
I know the name.
He wrote the book Angels Don't Play This Harp.
Oh,
Like
that's right. He was the harp guy. Yeah, he's Canadian or no,
yeah,
he's not Canadian.
he was
He's
from
got the
Alaska.
dark. I remember him. Yeah, he was talking about harp back in the day, and yeah.
So I get chills with this one. And his dad disappeared mysteriously in a plane after helping get Nixon busted with Watergate.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Right? So this guy knows. And what he said to me, he said, Adam, he said, the military is doing things with the weather
Yeah.
for your benefit or not. That's another story. But he said they've also been studying the power of the individual for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And it scares them.
Yeah.
Okay. So he said to me, did you ever see that movie, Men Who Stare at Goats?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, George Clooney. That was based on a
Yeah.
true story. Yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah.
shit. Well, he
Absolutely.
said to me, he said, watch that again, because more in that movie is true than you would think.
It's based on a true story. They admitted it's the
Oh
CIA
yeah.
thing for all the. Yeah, yeah.
I get the chills.
Psychonauts. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Well, and when you watch the movie, I watched it again, and the first thing that comes up on the screen is a sentence that says, more in this movie is true than you would think.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So the reality, Steve, is we have so much power as individuals. We can make
Yeah.
ourselves sick. We can make ourselves better. We can affect the people around us. And that's the thing is right now there's so much fear in the world. Okay. I love hanging out with people because I'm not afraid. I mean, I'm afraid of werewolves, maybe, spiders, but the reality is fear, if we look at health very simply, it's either sympathetic or parasympathetic. You either
Yeah.
rest and recuperate or fight or flight. And if you're afraid, you do not heal. So
Yeah.
in the end, we need to practice joy every day. It's important. Dad,
Absolutely.
Dad would write that on your prescription pad. He wasn't doing things. He gave up his medical license, but he'll write joy on your prescription pad and
Yeah.
steak if you want a steak too.
And a steak, joy and a
Yeah,
steak. I mean, that's called grace. I had a friend, grace, amazing grace is gratitude. And I had a friend teach me that. He said, you know what? Just say out loud, like every morning, 10 things that even if it's that your socks are dry and your feet are warm, it doesn't have to be something
yes,
amazing. Um,
right.
and it really does make you just start appreciating like the little things in life. And you'd be surprised when you're feeling down, how practicing a little bit of grace, your problems don't seem so bad. I think it is because of that. You don't appreciate all the things that aren't wrong. You just focus on your problems all the time and forget that
Right.
this place is great most of
Yeah.
the time.
And it's funny because if you listen to Anna and I when we were part of that couples presentation in Acapulco, she's a scientist. She goes down rabbit holes like, wow, and chemtrails, they're there. Where are you going to put your attention? The chemtrail is a small percentage of what I see, and I'm the guy who doesn't see them. Not that I'm in ignorant, and living in denial, but there's much more beauty for me to see. And Anna, she'll get intense, it's like, but then when you listen to her talk, her experiences, I love life. Life is a trip. There's so many awesome things for us to experience. And when you have these bad experiences, you appreciate the good ones that much more. There's got to be the dark and the light. It's
Yeah.
our navigation. That's the whole experience.
Well, I
My
was just
dad,
talking. Yeah, go. Yeah,
go ahead.
keep going. No,
Well,
go ahead. Yeah.
well, I remember, when I was younger, asking my rabbi questions, and things like heaven and hell. In Judaism, I never learned about hell, right? And he said to me, I said, hell? And he said, well, in the beginning, God created heaven and the earth. And I went, and then he was just quiet, and he looked at me and I said, so is earth hell? And he went, eh, like rabbis do. Eh. But the thing is, he said, it's written, it's up to you whether or not you make it a comedy or a tragedy.
Yeah.
What's our attitude? And we can really change our perspective. And this is all Josh and I do. We're here to show people life through the lens of the terrain, that we're connected with nature. And when you look at the beauty of nature and you look at animals, they're not evil animals. We released the damn turtles in Acapulco.
Yeah.
Acapulco. What a beautiful thing, releasing the baby turtles. And then here come the seagulls to eat your turtle.
It happened.
We fed the turtle. We fed the seagulls. It was like, and the kids oh, this is traumatic. And it's like, well, the seagulls are not evil. They have to eat.
They're just
You know.
hungry. Yeah, same with the animals. They're not killing each other out of malice. It's just hunger or it's a territory. I've seen those videos where these people like they nurtured a baby squirrel that was injured for like 3 weeks and released it, and then a hawk just comes down.
Yeah, that sucks. Nature, but
Yeah, but
evil.
it's that's the way it goes sometimes.
Right. Well, if we look at ourselves in that context, then we see things differently.
Yeah.
So something happens, look at nature. How can you react? And where do you put your focus? There's chemtrails, we can't avoid it. Turn around, look the other way, and look at the sunset.
Well, that's the
Look at,
thing. Like, you either go hide in your house with your tail between your legs, or just like they're on you anyway. So you
yeah,
can either sit and cry about it all day, or just go out and have a good time. If they get you, they
yeah,
get you.
yeah. And you can't. There's only certain things you can do. But I've done experiments, with 5G or with the Wi-Fi and my blood, and I wasn't affected as much as you would think because my
Yeah,
biofield. I do my qigongs. I drink a little seawater. I play my guitar. I'm having a
yeah,
good time. I'm eating the damn tacos. Yay. So I'm much more impermeable to what happens. You
yeah,
know, you got to do what you got to do. And I know there's stuff out there that is going to affect us. But when I see, here's my thinking: you see a chemtrail, you want to do what you can do to fight against it or whatnot. Get the hell outside, expose yourself to it,
yeah.
and your body can start to adapt and build up some tolerance to it.
And you're an
That sounds,
electrical being, so get barefoot, get grounded. Start building, breathing, getting your electrical circuit. I'm a big
yeah.
believer in that. That I think I take my cell salts, because I am a rock and roll lifestyle. Um, like poison loathes the oil, the odes of Horus. I take my potassium chloride because it can neutralize poisons and toxins, and I do believe that we have a lot of power with both electricity and with mind over matter, where we can overcome heavy metals dropping on us. Maybe you'll get some parasites to eat them out. Oh, there's strontium and barium. Okay. Well, maybe you'll have some parasites to eat the strontium and barium if you can't flush it out. But there's bentonite clay and bentonite ash and diatomaceous earth and
Right.
activated charcoal. There's a lot of other ways to get that crap out of your body. And
Yeah.
SiOH4 water, mineral water. So, okay,
Yeah.
there's metals falling out of the sky, but there's ways to get metal out.
Yeah. And if you think about the river flowing, right, the metal sinks to the bottom. If the river flows, things move. If you got a
Yeah,
block, then you have less flow and things can stagnate and stay.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
it's that simple, Steve. It really is. Align the car, get the energy to flow, get some damn joy in your life. And my dad would give you homework, a list of joy. This is for your listeners, right? Get out a piece of paper, 10 things that bring you joy. It can be anything. It can be a walk, talk with a friend, play your guitar. I love chocolate milkshakes, brings me joy,
I
right?
just had one last night.
Nice. Send me pictures. I'll share the joy, man.
I made
So
it.
the thing is, life is going to hit you every day. It's going to hit you physically, energetically, emotionally, and spiritually. So we need to do our thing too. We need to be
Yeah,
physical, energetic, emotional, and spiritual
yeah,
every damn day. And if life hits you and things suck, take out your list of joy and do something. All
yeah,
right. And 10 minutes, we work with Mishiko Hayashi. She's the director of Dr. Emoto's Peace Project. And she says we have 60 to 80,000 emotional episodes a day. 80% are negative, probably more now over the last 3 years. So we need to practice joy. All
Yeah.
right. And start your day right. Don't get up and go right to your damn phone. If life is a game, you get pumped up before you get on the field, right? I do my Qigong, I do some other things, and then I answer my emails and I'm ready. And then in the middle of the day, I eat some food. Yay. I do some more Qigong and then I'm ready. And then at the end of the night, I do my guitar. I watch some stupid horror movies because the idiots always die in the end, which is awesome, you know? But life should be simple. So if we can simplify things and really take some action and see the reactions, observe our
Yeah.
patterns, be consciousness.
That's
We,
pretty funny that you watch horror movies because when you look at like Emoto and stuff, I think the reason they make all these horror movies is because you actually affect the water structure in your body by being upset if you're too much into the movie. I think they do it so you screw your water up. But I love them,
yeah,
and my son loves horror movies. Even when he was a little kid, I was letting him watch them at like 10. And his
nice.
mom's like, he's gonna have nightmares. And like we watched like some crazy one called Insidious, it was one of the scariest ones
Oh
I've
yeah.
ever seen. And I let him sleep in my bed that night. And like 2 hours later, he was laughing in his sleep. And I'm like, okay, clearly that horror movie didn't really like affect
Yes.
him.
Yeah.
He's
And it's
cracking up.
well, and it's weird psychologically. Anna says maybe it's that I expose myself to these things, to these horrors, and then I can deal with them in a way that's silly. It's not real. And then, maybe as life goes on, I see horrible things, then I'm not so shocked. It's almost like Wim Hof with the cold showers.
Yeah.
You do this cold shower and it's a shock, but then you work through it. And if you do that regularly, then when you have shocking instances in your life, you can deal with it more balanced, you know?
Yeah.
So
Like I,
that,
I don't want to say desensitized, but uh,
no,
more acclimatize. Desensitize you
yeah,
don't want, but acclimatize so that you can deal with it and say, all right, yeah.
right,
Because
right.
you're right. Like if you were in a real horrific situation, like an earthquake or something happened where all of a sudden there was real stuff that horrible going on around you, someone's got to stay the fuck calm, what
Right.
I mean?
Yeah, totally. Totally. Well, that's a perfect example. In California, I've been in plenty of earthquakes. And as soon as we moved to Mexico with Anna and the kids, big earthquake. And they were like, oh my God. I was like, oh yeah, earthquake. Oh,
Yeah,
you've never been. It was like, I'm surfing the wave.
yeah.
And they're like, oh my God. It's like, oh yeah, it's okay. Let's go outside. Everything's going to be fine. So
That was,
yes.
I think that was a big one. When we were in Acapulco, I think they said it was a 5.0 or something, the one that hit.
Yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
think it was 6 in the morning. I remember waking up in bed and like, oh, I think it's an earthquake. And then I just fell back
Went back to
asleep
sleep.
again.
Yeah, totally. But whatever. It was an earthquake. Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas
People
Presti, I
freaking.
think Presti said he ran out because he's like, I'm on the first floor. I'm not having three floors collapse on me. And I was
Right.
just like, man, I'm too freaking tired to get out of bed, man. I don't give a shit
The
what's
choke
going
on that one. Yeah.
on.
Well, and you'll laugh too because I've had conversations with Mishiko about heavy metal because
Yeah.
I love heavy metal music. I love heavy metal and I'm a happy, nice guy, right? And for people that know heavy metal and like it, the mosh pit is one of the friendliest places there is. Like there's some of the scariest, ugliest, meanest looking people that are so nice. I'm a little guy, and I've been in some. There's always one old guy in the mosh pit. It's usually me. I only got hurt once. It was a Slayer concert, and that's it. But I've been in so many mosh pits, never gotten hurt. It's my happy place.
Yeah.
Josh and I have looked at our blood before and after an Anthrax concert. Okay, and our blood looked awesome. Like we were
Yeah.
so much more grounded and centered, and we released. And if I took my mom to that concert, her blood would look horrified, right? Different
I was
people,
gonna
different.
say, yeah, because Emoto was like playing heavy metal to water and shit. I think it didn't look too good.
Yeah, well, we talked to them about it, and if you look at the
Yeah.
book, it says heavy metal with aggressive lyrics.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love like Psycho Stick is like humor core. It's funny heavy metal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. I used to listen to Guar, which was like the most extreme awesomeness. Their stuff was hilarious if you listen
Yeah.
to it. It was funny. So I'm not an angry guy. I'm not listening to this death metal stuff, that is bad. And it's the lyrics. Definitely. So, what we say, words are power. That's important. Everyone is different. What makes you happy might not make me happy. And we want to share our joy. I'm not bringing Anna to a heavy metal concert. That's my joy.
Yeah.
Okay. Probably traumatize her. So it's all food for thought for you, for me, for everyone listening. No one is perfect. We've never seen perfect blood. We need our stuff. We're going to have crap happen and we need to know how to deal with it. And the thing is, if we can navigate and be like Matt Presti would say, I'm at fulcrum and we're right in the middle. Sometimes we go this way and then we go back this way. My life is a balance. Sometimes it's this and this, wow. But I feel like I have a pretty decent balance, even in the midst of the extremes. Your energy is awesome. Whatever goes on with you, whatever
Thank
you've
you.
done, it's really, and Anna was like, oh my God, I love his energy. Uh, there's just some people you feel something, and your rock and roll lifestyle. Look at Keith Richards. He loves what he's doing. He's going to live forever,
Yeah,
right?
and he's like me, but yeah, and I didn't always used to be all bubbly and stuff. I've always, but I just kind of let go. I don't want to say I had an awakening or something weird. I just kind of let go.
Yeah,
I felt like the responsibility of the world on my shoulders, and like I know all this stuff, and I need to tell everyone, and we're all going to be saved. And then I was like,
right.
"Fuck, man, I just ruined my life." So
Yeah,
I just
yeah, yeah,
shrugged and let it go. And like now, I think everything's funny. People,
yeah.
even I'm laughing at stuff that you shouldn't be laughing at, and
Oh my
people are like,
God.
"Why are you laughing at that?" I'm like, I can't help. I don't laugh on
Yeah,
purpose. I just
yeah.
start laughing. I'm not trying to laugh.
Yeah.
I
Well,
just
laughing
laugh.
it's an expression, and we can laugh or we can cry. I had the girlfriend, anytime things were tough with her, she would just start laughing. It's like a nervous reaction is one thing.
Yeah.
But the reality is this is life is gonna happen. How do we react to it? And there are crazy things going on. You gotta laugh. It's ironic that so many people are scared of microscope images of dirt and air
Yeah.
pockets. That to me is funny. I have to laugh at that.
Yeah.
You know, and it's the person who laughs things off that, if you look at nature, a duck, they get in a fight and they quack it off
Yeah.
and they move on. We get in a fight, we hold on to that crap forever, and then it eats away at us, and then we get sick. And one thing about you, which is funny, because that was the story with the whoever was driving you, and they heard you laugh and was like, "Are you Steve?"
It happened
Because
to
you
me
rec.
4 times down there. 4 people, twice in the dark, walking from to and twice in the bar. People are like, I know that laugh. You're Space Busters. I was like, Jesus, man.
That's a big deal, Steve. That's
Yeah.
awesome. It's like people recognize you for that. And people need that. People need the lightheartedness. And Josh and I, we give these big lectures. We talk about some serious things. And someone said to us once, you guys need to be a little more serious. And I said, no, no.
You need to
And
lighten up.
yeah. And dad, they did an interview once with dad on the news as I was younger. And they asked him, do you have a white coat, a stethoscope? And he said, no. And he put on his Mickey Mouse vest.
Right.
You gotta enjoy life. Life is gonna happen. Find the joy. Laugh about it. Laugh it off. Let it relax. Don't be in denial. But the reality is, if we can laugh, get a little more lighthearted, things aren't so heavy. When it's heavy, it affects our health. We get
Yeah.
constricted, right? You know this.
I,
So
I'm
it's
a, I'm a huge fan of that, and it is true. Like Bruce Lipton, I don't know what you think of Bruce Lipton's work because I'm not totally convinced that celery. I'm not to like his cellular biology is another issue, but
yeah,
he always said like when you first are in love, when you meet someone and you're like that new in love, he's like, "Are you ever sick?"
no,
He's like, "You're never sick." Like when you're in
no,
that new in love stage, and he's like,
yeah.
"Never."
That's the best blood that dad ever saw. I get chills again. If you ask him what's the best blood you've ever seen, he said new people that are just gotten in love. They're just found
Yeah.
this new thing and they're thrilled. You know what I mean? That's a big damn deal. Now, this also makes us frustrated, those of us that were single for long periods of time, right? Okay. The reality is, though, what we need to do is love ourselves and do things that make us feel awesome, that we get joy out of, and then watch who comes into the picture. My girlfriend, taller than I am, smarter than I am, better looking than I am I worthy? Hell yeah, if I'm not worthy, who is? You know,
Yeah.
who isn't, right?
Yeah,
But I
Anna's
had to do.
amazing too. Is she around or will say hi for me? I don't know if she's around
She's
to
yeah,
pop in.
she wanted to be here, but she's on a
Don't you
different level.
wish your girlfriend was hot like me?
Dude, I
She's
still, it's
amazing.
like, what am I doing with her? What's she doing with me? But the
Well, you
reality
deserve
is,
it, man. Yeah, because
yeah,
you're cool as shit and you're having a great time. She don't want to be with some mope.
no, and we all deserve it, Steve. We all
Yeah,
deserve the best. This is
yeah,
your life. You deserve the best. I deserve the best. And we do something psychologically where we don't think we're worthy, you know? And it's really interesting what we do to ourselves. So I can't encourage people enough to find what you like and do it, damn it. You
yeah.
gotta work. You gotta work is one thing. Make some money, fine. If you're a slave to your job, do something else. I moved to Mexico because I can't afford to live in the States, right? My quality of life is awesome. My cost of living is low. And I don't care what people think, anyone can move, right? Your family, take them with, all right? Whatever. But do what you gotta do. Take a walk, get some
Yeah,
joy, buy a guitar. You can
yeah,
get more money, so
yeah.
yeah,
You,
I'll give you a free lesson.
you better love tacos if you move to Mexico because that's all they freaking got. I was
There's more
thinking
to it, but
the,
yes.
the worst thing is I am a meat eater, but I just went vegetarian, vegan, and then it was like only tacos. And it was like remember that movie Three Amigos with Chevy Chase and
Yeah.
Martin Short? And they're in like the village eating, and then Chevy Chase is like, "Do you have anything besides Mexican food?"
Yeah, right. Totally. Good luck with that. That's just also too, it's you got to adapt, right? I always
Yeah,
think of Rudolf Steiner, and Rudolf Steiner said, as a vegetarian, he said if he went places and people fed him meat, he ate it, and he ate it with gratitude. You know,
yeah,
that's the ticket. But if you got law of attraction, if you're doing the right thing, and you don't like meat, you're not going to have to eat it. At the
yeah,
same time, you keep getting in situations where meat, meat, meat. I had one friend and he had a health issue, and dad finally said, "Stop coming to me. You need meat." We don't say that to everybody, right?
yeah.
He changed. He ate some meat, little fish oil and things. Now he's a mixed martial arts instructor. He's in his 50s. He's got black belt third degree, and his daughter eats more meat than I do. And now he's out of control. He's like, meat. It's like, dude,
Yeah,
settle down.
chill
Everyone
with
is
the meat.
different.
I
Yeah.
know lifelong vegetarians like Don Lester and David Parker. They're healthy. I know people who have been sick and they're healing with meat and stuff. Yeah, I stay out of that whole damn food debate because it's worse than religion. I think the
Yeah.
worst
It's a
religion
belief
on
system.
earth,
Right.
the worst
You
religion
got it.
on earth is the food one.
Totally.
I mean, if you need copper in your brain and your blood, you can get it from certain seeds and certain fruits and yeah, again, I just stay out of that whole thing because it's totally crazy. I eat what I want to eat when I want to eat. And,
Yeah.
yeah, I try to stay
Good.
out of that, man, but yeah, but I agree with you also. You start to attract, I believe in the law of attraction.
Yeah.
I don't want to, yeah, I don't want to, I'll say that I went through a time in my life where I kept attracting the same kind of I don't want to say this because it'll make my old girlfriends sound like they're not cool. They're all very cool. I was
They were
attracting,
perfect.
let me put it like this. I was attracting the same kind of person over and over again that were great people, but weren't really good for my existence. And they kept coming. And it
Right.
took me a long time to understand it was me who kept attracting this archetype into my life
Right.
is they were great archetypes, but they were there to teach me a lesson. Uh,
Yes.
and
You
and when
got
I
it.
did change myself, that's when I started attracting other archetypes of people that were a little more, a lot more better for me.
Yeah, totally. Well, and you'll realize as you change your vibration, some people are not happy with that. Some people get pissed. But the
Yeah,
reality is they don't resonate with you anymore and they kind of like you, but then they start to fall away. And
yeah,
family is tough. Like we love our families and we'll love them forever. That doesn't mean we have to get along with them and be friends with them, depending on. We got to appreciate people and their choices. And sometimes I wish people the best far away from me. I wish you
yeah.
the best far away from me, somewhere else. But we got to appreciate whatever's gone on because it's gotten us to where we need to be. And if you get the patterns repeated, well, you can keep doing the same crap and getting the same stuff, or you can be aware and conscious and change something and then see what else changes.
Yeah, and
So
I
it's
think the
it's
last 4 years with what happened with the boogeyman and all that stuff, in the donut bait plungers.
Yeah.
That split a lot of people's families up. And like I was saying to a lot of people, they're like, I'm the black sheep of the family. And I am actually the black sheep of the family, but that was long before a donut plunger ever happened in the boogeyman, But I
Right,
was
right,
saying to people like, I don't believe blood is thicker than water. Like some of us have family members who are just assholes, and just because you're stuck born with them, don't mean you have to get on with them.
right,
But I'm saying that in the times that are coming, why would you purposely want to isolate yourself from your one support structure just over a belief system? Try to,
yeah,
love it. Love is thicker than blood. I'll put it that way. You're a blood
yeah,
guy. You'll probably
yeah.
tell me love is blood. So blood
That's
is love.
fine. Yeah,
Thick blood
yeah,
is love, right? So that's what I'm saying to people. Like, if you got family members who are just a pain in the ass to be around, don't. But if you're
yeah,
trying to make it a pain in the ass just because you don't believe the same thing, maybe,
right,
swallow your pride, because when the SHTF shit hits the fan,
yeah, right,
these are the people you're going to want to count on. So why are you isolating
right,
yourself?
right. And we really have to appreciate people's journeys, and it's like you have the friend or the family member. I know people that they're going through things that I know we can help with our
Yeah,
information, but they're not interested. So my role at that point is to be there for them, to listen to them, to help joke with them so they can be more lighthearted. And that's it. And my job also for myself is to not be around them too much.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, to get out to nature and to play my drums. And I do, dude. I'm with some intense people. Wow. And I play my drums a lot.
Yeah.
Right? Thank God for heavy metal. It gets that crap out. I hit stuff,
It is good to get your rock out. Yeah, yeah, totally, man. Hey,
It's very healthy.
we were gonna jam, but we're already running 10 minutes. I got a 2 hour recording set here. So
Okay, okay.
how about we do this again next time and have another jam afterward?
Sounds good. I would love nothing more, Steve, than to pop up every once in a while. And that's for Josh and I, we are a resource.
Yeah,
So when there's different questions and things come up, you can call on us. This is what we want to do. I'm here to share the information and teach those that come to me to learn.
yeah,
And and I have so much information. I have stories and I have videos and content. I mean, 2 hours goes quick with us, you
yeah,
know.
crazy. Yeah,
Yeah, so I'm here for you, and I appreciate what you do because you're sharing information with people. You're helping generate awareness. What I learned from you is interesting because, conspiracies are one thing, and then people are like, "Oh, conspiracy theorists," but there's a lot of truth in just looking at certain things objectively. So when you're talking about language and where words came from, and I know words are power, that's really valuable. So I'm learning from you, and I appreciate that. And then I'm going to use what I'm learning from you in my speech, and that's going to be important. And as
right.
time goes on with you, you have theories, but then I can validate them, and then you can solidify that and now build on top of it.
Yeah.
All right.
And I like that.
So
Yeah, I mean, you and I had a very good chemistry right from the minute we met. I'd seen you before, but it was just right away like, hey man, I know you. I know you,
yeah, totally.
and it just kept going all week. Like you have me rolling at the taco stand and every night at the bar, and it was just hilarious, and I felt like yeah, I felt like you said coming home, like it just felt like I'd known you for a couple lifetimes, and it was like, damn, this guy's so cool, and,
Yeah.
and I really like that. So yeah, you and I, this is just the start of the beginning of a very beautiful friendship, man.
Well, and I'm thrilled, man. It was, towards the end, I was kind of sad. It's like, you're far away. Will I ever see you in person again?
Yeah, we
But we
will.
can, we will. And this was those awesome instant connections. That week was so surreal for me to sit with you and Max Egan and Kaufman at the bar, and I was at the bar every night. I'm
Yeah,
not that guy, until 2 in the morning. Like we kept shutting the bar down, and trying to leave before the taco shop closed. But we had the conversations, like to me, that was awesome. The conversations we had at the bar were not about the Charger game. You know what I mean? We talked about
yeah.
some real stuff with some real people. And even at the end, everyone left, and it was like, I didn't get to hang out with David Parker. And he's like, I'm going to the bar. And I said to Anna, I was like, gotta go back to the bar. Damn it. Back to the bar again. Wow, crap. But
It's
no,
not
dude,
your usual bar though. That's not your typical
no,
bar, man. Like
no,
you don't I work in bars all the time and I don't get that kind of talk all the time. Sometimes though.
yeah,
I
yeah.
gotta say, man, like more and more I'm having deeper conversation, like, I'm 52, and growing up, like you were talking about chicks and Magnum PIs, Ferrari back in the day, like more and more, even in the regular bars that aren't full of speakers at Anarchapulco, I'm hearing some conversations that I never heard in my life for the last 20 some years in bars. So it
Yeah.
is, people are something's happening really big.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, as we get towards the end, I'm grateful for what's gone on over the last 3 years. Okay, there's horrible things, but I can tell you a couple things. First of all, the whole world is concerned about their health,
Yeah.
and they should be. There's nothing more valuable than your health, right? Yeah, I don't care how much money you got; it's not going to make a difference. So now they're concerned, and my work is being brought up. We're doing things quietly. We don't want to make noise like Dad did because he got in trouble. He got smacked.
Yeah.
But people are coming to us now, and the conversations, people are becoming much more conscious and coherent.
Yeah.
And I would love to live in a world with less stupidity. And the irony is, many of the ignorant, stupid people are lining up to get shot.
Yeah.
Like they're literally taking themselves out of the picture. The unfortunate thing is, I know some of them, they're family members and friends, and I like them. And some
Yeah.
of them are not here anymore. But the reality is, I believe that I chose to come here for this time and that I have something to do. And even as I look up at the sky and say, why? I don't want to be here now. I have information that needs to be shared. Brendan Murphy is a friend of mine, and the local Telegram group is stupid. These people are just ridiculous, right? And I said something, and he said to me, he said, we need your voice. We need to hear what you say. So I really appreciate you listening. I appreciate you learning and sharing and taking some of this information and acting on it because you are going to lead by example.
Yeah.
We are the change that the world needs. Talk is cheap, but
Yeah.
people are doing things now. And there's more talk, but there are people doing things. You're doing it. Dude, your kids' book was awesome. I wrote a
Well,
children's
thanks.
song.
Yeah. We've
I
got more. I don't want to say, but we're the illustrator's having some very serious personal issues right now. So we were supposed to release. There's a series of 5 of these stories. That was number one, and the rest will come. But it just
cool.
can't right now. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's also why I wanted to bring you on. Because I space. I like to trip out all our subs. Like I said, we got the coolest subs, and when your stuff trips me out, I forget sometimes that I've been down rabbit holes for, I don't know, 16, 18 years, like a long time. I forget sometimes that the stuff, I just think everyone knows what I already ran into like years ago. I
Yeah.
forget. Not everyone's seen everything.
Yeah.
And so like for you, I was like, this dude's cool. His shit's just mind blowing. Like I still, every time I see it, if I had your job, every day I'd be like, what the?
That's what I do. I still do it
Yeah.
all the time.
So, I mean, it's really great, man. Yeah, I just wanted to really bring you in. And I think we're at that stage now where we're each kind of talking to echo chambers, if you know what I mean. We've got our followings and stuff. The only way to break that, I think, is to start synergizing and start bringing all of our crowds to each other and say, right, you've
Yes.
heard me, you're sick of what I have to say, but how about this? And
Right.
and try to bring
Yes.
our 70 or 100 echo chambers together until we have some massive symposium of
Yeah.
really clued in people. And that, I think, is really going to start to affect some more meaningful change in larger pockets.
Definitely. There's something happening now, and we have consistencies between us. No one's 1,000% aligned, but there's something with you that resonates with me, and together, and now we build on that.
Yeah.
Matt Presti was awesome. When Josh and I talked to Matt Presti, we don't know what he's talking about. Walter Russell, who's that? And then at one point he's asking us about what we do, and he obviously has no idea. And he had questions about cancer. I validated, we gave him some other insight, and now his theory is solid. So now he can build on that. So I want nothing more, Steve, than to support you, to motivate you, encourage you, and I need that myself. And I really think the kids' books they're awesome. We're going to teach the kids. For each one of those books you got, let's write some songs that go with the
Yeah,
books.
man, that would be great. We actually did write a theme song for it. There is a video version of it out, but Ross, the other Space Buster, and I. But yeah, that's an idea, and for the future, that's another thing I'd love to do is do some collaboration. And yeah, you said you have a song if you want me to work on a song, I've got a studio here too as well, so we can start working online together. It's the digital age.
Cool. Yes, we can do these. We have the technology. We can evolve with it instead of being a slave to it. No, I'm really excited, Steve. For me, Anarchapulco was surreal. Kaufman, I'm solid. He's poked holes and we're good. You, awesome, learning new things about language. Max Egan, learning that as a Jewish person, I'm supposed to be confused, and it's not my fault, right? You know, these things are important, and I just want to support people as much as I can. With what we've
Yeah.
got, every individual has power to be in a better space.
Yeah.
You might not know how and why, but I'm happy to hold some hands for people. I have to charge some money for some of it because I got some bills to pay, but if I could do this for free, if my dad could have done it for free, he would have.
Right. Yeah. But
And
you got to get paid too. We all got to make a living, unfortunately. We shouldn't have to, but that's the way it goes. But yeah,
yeah,
exactly. And like, I think what really was cool with me with Anarchapulco, like some people are like, oh, you talked to Matt Presti and you didn't challenge him on this, that, and the other. And I said, I didn't sit him down for a debate. I sat down to have a conversation here where he's coming from. We
right,
already talked off camera that we have very vital disagreements about the nature of reality. I already know that. I didn't sit him down to
sure,
have an argument. I sat him down to hear where
right,
he's coming from. And I think
yeah,
it's that time where we start putting it, we put aside our differences and say, where can we come together? And I accept that
right,
you're this kind of belief and I am, and who gives F.
right.
So
We can still be friends.
yeah, we can. Yeah, why can't we be friends?
Yeah,
As the song goes.
that's it's the great thing about being a New Yorker is we can say "fuck you" and still be friends with you. You
Are
know what I
you a New
mean?
Yorker? I didn't know. Are you a New
Yes,
Yorker?
born in New York. Yep.
Ah, I didn't know that. All right. I'm from Chicago originally, so
Yes. All right.
yeah.
There's some resonance. There's some
All
resonance.
right.
I do like New York pizza much better than Chicago pizza. So whatever.
Dude, that's the only thing we get with that's fighting words right there, and them
But you know
fighting.
what, dude? I'm happy to sit down with you and eat some pizza. You bring me to your favorite place, and I'll share with you, and I'm sure we'll have a good time,
No, I'm
right?
just kidding. I love New York pizza too, but like I could give you some Chi-Town Tavern pizza that's a killer too. They're
I
different.
support
That's the
that.
thing. They're not the same. They're different stuff, but totally, man. All right, well, I'm gonna stop recording this one anyway, and we'll release it. I'll send you a copy too as well. So hang tight for 1 second. I don't even know how to. Oh, stop. There.